Oh, I have slipped the surly bonds of earth.
And danced the skies on laughter's silvered wings.
Sunward I've climbed, and joined the tumbling mirth of sun-split clouds.
And done 100 things you have not dreamed of.
These are the voyages of the starship Erebus. Its 5-year mission: to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no one has gone before.
All right, and welcome everyone to the much anticipated, I guess not long overdue, like I said earlier, but the much anticipated session 1 of our Star Trek Adventures campaign, Star Trek Hubris. Joining me today are 5 amazing role players who I have the luck, honor, privilege of being able to game master for here today. You should recognize most of their faces, except for one. We do have a new role player here on the stream, which I'm very excited to get a chance to play with him. He comes highly recommended by a fantastic friend of mine, who is also a professional actress, which is amazing. I bet you can't guess which one that person is. So there you go. But as is tradition, we're just going to go around the table real quick. We're going to have everyone quickly introduce themselves. Just tell us who they're going to be playing, and then we're going to do a quick intro from myself as Admiral Traso, who you may recognize the name from our previous series of Star Trek Valhalla. He's been promoted, which is kind of exciting. But without further ado, take it away. We're going to go Matthew, Aaron, Drew, Shmandy, and C4A.
Hello, everyone. My name is Matthew. I am, a semi-regular on Wolf's channel. I'm going to be playing the Andorian expert, a civilian science consultant specializing in subspace dynamics. Did you want something else from my life, Wolf?
Who's your daddy and what does he do? No, go ahead, Aaron.
We'll take your social security if you want to offer that.
Okay, well,
What's the Canadian
Canadian? We don't have those.
What's the Canadian equivalent?
A social insurance number. You don't actually get. Fun fact: it doesn't actually get you any insurance. So it's yeah.
It's a good thing.
So interesting misnomer there. Much like your social security number is not secure most of the time.
Correct. Accurate. Yeah, it's true.
So, but yeah, I'm Aaron. You guys may know my face a little bit, I guess, from Mech Warrior and other games like that. I am playing Captain Israh Shruth. He's also an Andorian, as luck would have it. He is a science officer turned command officer turned soldier in the Klingon War, and now he's commanding this mission to boldly go.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Wonderful. Chewbacca, take it away.
Hi, I'm Drew. I'm probably fairly well recognized on the Wolf Den. I've played a game or two with game or two here.
You're one of the old salty dogs.
A little bit.
Who is this guy?
Drew. I'm going to be playing Lieutenant Commander Flitz. I am Wonder of Wonders playing an engineer. He is an android. And he has been essentially raised by Starfleet from the time he was found till now.
Love it. Shmandy, welcome. First and foremost, Shmandy, thank you for being here. Take it away.
Yeah. How's it going, everybody? I'm Shmandy. I am new to the channel, I was in one game that had some technical difficulties, but this is my first time in one of Wolf's games. I am playing Lieutenant Phe'lan, the security officer on the Erebus, formerly a proud warrior of the Klingon Empire, who during the last war actually defected and joined the Federation. He is now a family man and a proud servant of Starfleet, but he is still very much at heart a Klingon.
Love it. Love it. C4A.
And hello, I am C4A. I've been around a few times. This time I am playing Lieutenant Commander Lisbet Stern. She is a human from a frontier colony where they primarily spoke German. So from here on out, everyone is going to have to deal with a questionable, vaguely German accent.
That is wonderful to hear. I can't wait for it. Let's do it. I'll do it together.
Sehr
I'll
gut.
game master the entire game like this. So we open our first scene. No,
I have some
I don't think I can
unfortunates
hold that
for
up.
you.
I really don't think I could keep that going. But
Then
of course
I'd
I
like
am.
to ask you some questions.
Oh God,
Gibt's
Schnitzel.
dabei eine Frage?
Schnitzel. Ich kann.
Leave us the questions.
Super serious Star Trek game, I promise.
Mhm.
But of course, I am DerWolf, the game master. I'll be playing all the other characters, except for the ones that I don't. There you go. That's what it's at. But we're gonna open our first scene. We see a large starbase, one that we have not seen before. It seems to have been constructed for a singular purpose. It looks more like a large docking ring. If you've ever seen those docking rings where they see like Plutopia. I can't say the word.
Utopia.
Utopia.
That's what I
Planitia.
said. Utopia Planitia, where they've got the big giant arms, kind of looks like a big crab, and they've got the ship in it. It looks like that, but there's also a huge tower coming up and off of it, where you can see there's likely quarters, sleeping, engineering bays, etc. But in the middle of this giant claw-like structure, this construction ring, as it were, we see a magnificent looking vessel. It has the classic two nacelles on the back, like many of the Star Trek starships have. It has these sort of black accents that come down the arms, connecting with the main. The giant saucer front has these somewhat black accents as well. And as we sort of swoop down as though we're in a shuttle, and we come up and over the bow of this ship, we see the USS Hubris. We see the USS Hubris is the ship that we see there. As we kind of do a huge circle around, we're seeing it. We see that there's a couple of final things that are being done, a bunch of different shuttles coming to and from the vessel, likely dropping off supplies and what have you. But as we zoom down in, we actually go into the main bridge. We see there's a bunch of engineers. They're working. They're finalizing panels, doing last system checks, etc. But as we pivot from the bridge, looking through the sort of main view screen, we look back out in the distance, out into space, we see this sort of flicker. It almost looks like a pulsar of some sort. But as we focus in on that pulsar, we can see that it is a wormhole of some kind that seems to be sort of opening, closing, opening. It's maybe starting to stabilize is what we see. So it would appear that this huge station has been constructed in proximity to this wormhole. But we're going to pivot over, and we're going to go into think of a Intrepid class style bridge, where you've got the captain's ready room just off there. And as we go into this room, we see a man who is sitting across from an Andorian. And the man has a genuinely warm and welcoming smile on his face. And it would appear that we are picking up somewhat, I would say, mid-conversation into this. And the man that is sitting there, he has a gray beard. He looks to be maybe in his late 50s, early 60s. And he is wearing Admiral pins. He's got the full getup, and he has a data pad. And he's leaned back. He's relaxed. He's just enjoying the conversation. And across from him, we see none other than the captain. See you, Captain. So I'd like to take a moment to, what does your character look like? How do they carry themselves? Give us a impression of what this character looks like.
Captain Truth is not. He's not that old, but he's about 47 years old. Here he's been in Starfleet at this point for about 25 years. And so we have some crow's feet around the eyes, some creasing on the forehead, and his obviously his hair is already white because he's an Andorian, but we're seeing some peppering of iron gray, which is how they show their age. So a little iron gray at the temples. He's very straight backed, and his outward appearance is a little stiff, but his facial features are quite soft, and as is his voice.
You are in the middle of going over some rosters, last minute checks, crew, manifest, etc. when Admiral Traso, who has been, you would get the impression, Captain, that he is a bit almost too relaxed, perhaps, for your liking. But he takes his data pad, he sets it down on the desk, and he looks around at the room, and he asks you a question. He says, "What does it all mean? You do know that a captain's ready room is both an extension of themselves, but it's an extension of how they want to present themselves to their crew. Why have you chosen what you chose, Captain?" So 2 things I'd like you to do, Captain, is describe what does your ready room look like, and then give a explanation of why.
His ready room is incredibly Spartan. Apart from the basic furnitures, there is nothing really to hint at his personality, except for one photograph on his desk, 2 photographs. One is of himself. He's a much younger man with 2 small children, a boy and a girl, and the other is him, a much older man, probably dated mere weeks before this actual meeting, and it's him with a young Andorian man and a young Andorian woman, and those are his children. So perhaps one he's in an ensign's uniform, and in the other it's a captain's uniform. And apart from that, there's really nothing else in the ready room. And I think he'll maybe nudge one of the photos and adjust it before looking at the Admiral and saying, "Well, Admiral, you know our mission. Why would I fill my ready room with mementos of a place I know rather than fill it with things nobody's ever seen before once we get there?"
He wears a smile on his face most of the time, but it widens in grin. And he just nods his head, smiles. "Captain, I know we've been working together now for the better part of a year in preparation for this. But have I ever told you the time that I was almost court-martialed?"
Not personally, sir, but I've heard it spoken of.
The details don't really matter. What matters is that out there, where you're going, Captain, as I'm sure you well know, but I want to stress, you'll be forced to make decisions that will have consequences. Remember that. And he leans forward and he slightly adjusts the picture that you just adjusted back to where it was so that it slightly faces you a little bit more. Remember who you're doing it for.
And he nods and just adjusts the picture again without breaking eye contact with him and says, Admiral, I know exactly who I'm doing this for.
Good, Captain. Of all the candidates, I'm glad it's you. We'll be in the command chair, sir. And he lets that sir sort of just hang in the air for a few moments. But enough for emotional dialogue, I suppose. Back to crew manifest. This is the Lisbet? Lisbet, right? Why did you choose her? And before you have a chance to respond, we're actually going to zip down, sort of like phase through the floor. We're going to go down sort of near the middle of the ship itself. And this is a massive vessel. These are huge, huge vessels. And we're going to go down into this very, very, very well appointed, wonderfully just clean, bright, just dozens of medical beds, the most modern Starfleet technology you can find. It is magnificent, absolutely magnificent medical bay. And we are going to see Lieutenant Lisbet there in the medical bay. And Lieutenant Lisbet, I'd like you to take a moment and I'd like you to describe your character. And I want you to think about what would you be doing mere hours before departure? What would you be working on? I'd like you to take a moment to describe that. And then I'm going to introduce another NPC who will become hopefully a regular for you guys as well. But please take a moment.
Okay. She's actually Lieutenant Commander.
That's what I said.
Lieutenant Commander Stern.
That's what I said.
And she would be making sure that all the supplies are what was requisitioned is what they have on board. B, they are properly filed away, and she's getting familiar with her workspace, checking her staff, and filing last minute crew member information.
Okay. So as you are working through the list, you notice there's a requisition you had requested that you're checking the manifest that seems to be missing. It seems to not be there. You check it again, you check it a third time, and it's missing. It is simply missing. How would Lieutenant Commander Lisbet respond to this?
Oh, das ist schlecht. Where is this item that I have requested? Can they not do this one thing for me?
And at the mention of that question, you hear a voice that, while not completely familiar, is a voice that will likely become very familiar. It is the captain's number one, a Commander Maston. Everyone just calls him Commander Mass, or just Ulrich for those that are being friendly with him. And he lets out a soft chuckle, and he goes, "Something wrong, Lieutenant Commander?"
Yes, this very specific item that I requested, it is not here.
Well, have you checked all of the manifests?
Yes.
Triple checked?
Of course.
Quadruple checked?
You are questioning my integrity.
No, I'm simply asking what's missing, Lieutenant Commander.
And she'll turn the pad around and put it in his face.
And he'll just gently take
it's like
it and
highlighted.
Does it? So that's there, that's there, that's there. Right. Right. Mm-hmm. And you would notice at this moment that in his right hand, he's carrying a small parcel. And he's just, yeah, that's definitely missing. And as your eyes perhaps drift down to it, you see the name of the thing that's missing. And he's just got it just cradled like a little baby bird, just in his arms. He's just looking. He's like, whew. Let me tell you, Lieutenant Commander, I'm gonna have a word. I'm gonna have a word with a lot of people about this, and this will be going straight to the captain, and their heads will roll. Heads are going to roll, Lieutenant Commander. Also, this was put in the science department by mistake.
She'll take it and the pad back from his hands.
Cheeky, big grin on his face, and he's just beaming at you. Just a cheeky grin. Was there anything else that I could help you with today, Lieutenant Commander?
9. Now get out of my sick bay.
Don't take it too seriously, Lisbet. Remember, this is going to be fun. And he'll turn, and as he turns, he walks out, and he just starts humming. Just starts humming a song to himself. It sounds like a sea shanty or something like that. He's just a happy guy as he walks away. As that guy walks out, we then zoom back up to the captain. We zoom back up to the captain and Apso, and you've just explained why you chose Lieutenant Commander Lisbet. All right, you've just explained that to him, and I'd like you to. What was like the last point you made about why you chose her for this mission? Like, what was the reason that you chose her? And no rush. Please take your time. I'm putting you on the spot.
No, I got you. You've read her personnel record. You know where she came from. You know what she endured. And yet here she is, a doctor. I need people who can endure the unendurable.
He ponders your response for a moment.
And I need a powerful force of personality to challenge me when they feel it's warranted. I believe she'll do that.
My first officer when I was on the Ragnar was that force of personality mentioned. She was also the chief medical officer. I'm seeing some.
How did that work?
No, it was strange. I'm not sure how it worked. Lots of people questioned us on it. We made it happen. Your command staff, Captain, is each and every one of them a series of advisors who help you make the right choices. And it's good that you trust them.
Well, Admiral, I trust anybody in the uniform.
That leads me to my next question. This Shaz, why not pick an officer? Why a civilian? And as that happens, we zoom down to the science facility, which, much like the medical bay, was very well appointed, state-of-the-art, modern, and similar question that I asked to the Lieutenant Commander, Mr. I guess I'm just going to have to say Shaz, since you don't have a title, you weird civilian weirdo. I don't like it. I hate it. All right, we'll get you promoted. We'll get you a field promotion. Don't worry about it. All right.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
Talk to me. What does he look like? And what is he doing in the final preparations before departure?
So, Mr. Thane, if you will, is a relatively svelte Andorian. His age is somewhat belied by the beard that he has grown and maintains quite fastidiously, that stands out against his almost stark, icy white blue skin. That's far paler than you would anticipate or expect for a standard Andorian. But despite that affectation of age, his actual complexion is quite youthful once you see past that facial hair. And he is garbed in a kind of blue and gray checkered tunic, kind of typical of Andorian fashion for civilians at this point. And at the moment, he is in one of these modular laboratories, essentially assessing the way in which they can be reconfigured for various different purposes, and liaising with the actual science personnel from the vessel itself, the Starfleet officers who are actually members of its crew, and a contingent of scientists that were dispatched from the Daystrom Institute, attempting to integrate their respective command structure and also kind of collaborative dynamics of the Daystrom Institute scientists.
Good. So there is no longer a younger woman, and she's been promoted several times since we saw her on Star Trek Valhalla. But there is a black-haired woman. She is wearing Lieutenant Commander pips, and she is a liaison, one of those liaisons from the Daystrom Institute that you mentioned. This is Lieutenant Commander Minerva Mini Crusher is her name, and she is tapping her lips with her index finger of her right hand, and she is simply just, she has this very inquisitive look on her face, as you are maybe, I don't know, neck deep in some sort of project, and she clears her throat once. Perhaps you don't hear it, perhaps you ignore it. She clears it a second time, and then she says, Shas, right? Shas? It's weird not to put a title in front of that.
So Shas looks up from the console at which he was working. He turns in Minerva's direction, but he's looking past her, not quite focusing, because as his face turns into the camera, you can see that his eyes are milky white. Only the vaguest impression of the irises and pupils are really visible there. And he shakes his head. You could call me Professor. That would be an acceptable title if it's necessary. Doctor would also be appropriate.
Dr. Professor. Very good. I can do that. Yes, Dr. Professor.
I can see we're not going to get along.
She chuckles. A bit of humor, Professor, just to lighten the mood. I wanted to ask you something, if I could. It's a bit of a personal question. I know we've interacted, but why have you never bothered to, I mean, the technology exists, you could, with your, is this too personal? I'm sorry, I don't mean to be unprofessional.
No, of course not. It's a natural question, and I suppose, since we're being frank, I did get the impression that it was one that you wanted to ask. And he taps very gently at the side of his head. My latent telepathic abilities sometimes grant me access to thoughts that run on the surface of people's minds. I don't mean to pry, but it was quite self-evident. And then he points towards some very faint scarring that's almost invisible, because it's this little puckered white streak that's almost invisible against the natural hue of his skin. In fact, my mother had much the same idea, and well, let's just say it didn't quite work out for me in the way that she had hoped. So the reason why I don't have implants is, well, I did, and I'm quite happy to be rid of them.
You can tell that she wants to ask what happened. So you just psychically know this. So you can choose to respond or let her ask the question. I leave that up to you.
Well, it's all just a matter of record. You could probably piece it together looking at any of the biographical details that have been provided by the Daystrom Institute. Quite simply, my mother believed that I would live a better life if I had normal vision, and that proved not to be the case. The neurological scarring that was left from the procedure resulted in a life of constant pain. But that, I think, is true of many of us, just of different sorts. That's, I suppose, a sufficient answer to your question as to why I would wish to have them eventually removed.
There's beat. And she responds, well, yes, yes, Professor, I think that it is.
I must admit that most people, although they're innately curious about the and he gestures towards the sort of slack facial features and the scarring around his eyes. They don't actually find the courage to pose the question, and I must admit I respect that. The courage to ask difficult questions.
You can psychically see a smile on her face. That'll be fun to do every session with you. It's gonna be great. I love you. You're an amazing man. But yeah, she hands you a tool of some sort. You guys continue to work together, and we once again pivot back up to the bridge. See Captain and Admiral Traso, and the captain poses a similar question. This doesn't feel like he is interrogating you. He's just trying to. You're getting the impression he's just trying to help you realize that you've made the right choices. He's going through these sort of steps to just say, hey, you've done it right. You've done a good job. This is a good crew you've put together. We've put together. But he still wants to hear it, because sometimes saying it out loud gives it more credence, right? So he asks the question again, and once more we're going to pick up on the tail end of you explaining why you chose this civilian, this professor, this doctor. Take it away, Aaron.
And I suppose, apart from the fact that he's supremely qualified, a brilliant scientist, the fact that my father and his mother served together, the fact that I know something of his family and his history, and the fact that I know his personal feelings for his mother have become intimately intertwined with his distaste for Starfleet. I want to give him the opportunity to find out what it's really like.
Perspective, Captain. You will offer him perspective to Starfleet. And he to you a perspective that is not decidedly so, Starfleet.
In a way, we're mirror images of each other. My mother was a civilian scientist who wished me to follow in her footsteps and join Starfleet Medical as a researcher.
You're a
I
long
chose
way
a
from the
different
medical
path.
bay, Captain.
The medical bay is in good hands, and anything other than basic first aid, Admiral, and I'm all thumbs.
He does one of these. An engineer myself. An engineer. Transporters primarily, but that's a story from another time as well. Let's talk about engineering for a moment, if we could. And as we have been, we are framing this, we're going to zip down to the primary warp engine room, because I believe this vessel, if I remember correctly, we have a redundant warp core as well, which is fantastic. And if not, well, we do now, because I've said it and it's canon, and I have a mug that says I'm God, so I can do what I want. So there we are. It is what it is.
It's
But
a
we're gonna
very
go
nice
down,
mug.
and thank you, sir. I like it a lot. In fact, I might go get it while you're talking. So as we have been, Drubaka, please take a moment to describe your character and what they are doing. Once more, it's unlike with the medical bay, which was sort of not too busy. It was mainly just Lieutenant Commander Stern, maybe a couple of medical personnel. The science bay was very busy, getting all the instruments, everything ready. Your engineering bay, your engineering is extremely busy. So take a moment to describe yourself and what's happening in this moment.
Flitz is somewhat short, like 5'7", bright chrome, normal human proportions and everything, no hair, the same kind of golden eyes that Data had, but his skin is bright chrome. He has a very small nose, and he's as busy and as hectic as everything in the engine bay seems. He is unfazed by it, not emotional. He has kind of a grin on his face. He does have an emotion chip, but you know, he's an android, so he doesn't feel emotions quite the way that everyone else does. And he's got a pad in his hand, and he's just almost like a conductor, just, you know, giving orders here and there, checking on readings, just, you know, a bastion of calm in the sea of chaos around him.
And you're going to love me, Drew. But standing next to him is a, not too recently, but a promoted Lieutenant Andrea Bronson. Lieutenant Andrea Bronson. She's got some scars on her face from some past events that have happened, but she is she's looking pretty dandy with her lieutenant pips on, and she's just doing some final checks. And I'd like to pick your brain as a player, Drew. I want you to come up with something that is slightly amiss with the warp core right now, like something either in engineering, the warp core itself, but there's a reading that's off. And I'd like you to come up with what it is, and then I want you and Andrew are going to try to problem solve. We're going to get a little rolling in here today. It is a role-playing game. I know. Who would have thought? But I want you to use your creative license here. What's off right now? What does she bring to your attention?
There's something in the port nacelle that is giving us an anomalous reading. We've so far ruled out the
Matthew.
the Bassard ramjets, but nothing is quite off the table yet. We're still diagnosing.
Okay. And she is going to tap her. She taps her little data pad, and she says, she goes, perhaps if we intensify the trifold plasma dampening actuator, that might regulate the system, but oh man, God, I wish the commander was here. He'd know how to figure this out.
Ah, Krev. Yes, I wish he was here too. He was a good mentor.
Wait, you worked with Krev?
Yes, we worked together at Utopia Planitia during the research phase of the what the hell ship class are we in?
It's a
the Regent class.
The class. The Regent.
Yeah.
During the development of the Regent class, before he was reassigned to the Ragnar.
And she has this soft but warm smile on her face. It is one that just breathes and speaks to a fond memory, as though he kind of closes her eyes. She just remembers how was he when you saw him last?
When I last saw him, he was argumentative and irascible. So, as good as he ever is.
So he was well.
Yes.
It's good. It's really good to hear. And I'm going to have you make the first roll of our game, Chewbacca. I'm going to have you make the first roll of our game. And we're going to do a, let's do a reason and engineering, difficulty of 0. We're just going to get you some momentum. All right. I'm not saying you're going to need it later, but you might. We'll see what happens. We're very early into our session here. We'll see what happens. But go ahead, take it away, Lieutenant Commander.
2d20, submit. Let's see. Do I Starship Propulsion Systems? Is that a good focus for this?
Yes, of course. Perfect. One success, one momentum. Hey, better than a kick in the teeth. Totally better than a kick in the teeth. Totally better than a kick in teeth. And you know what? Because she is a person that exists, she is also going to help you. She's also going to help you right now. She's gonna help. We're gonna see if she can do it. She's got an applicable focus. Absolutely. And there it is. 2 momentum. Whoever wants to take care of the momentum, it is up to you guys. You're absolutely welcome to do so. I'm not going to do it. And if you don't do it, then you don't get them. So whoever wants to do it, it's up to you. But with that being said, you identify the issue. You actually do indeed identify the issue, and you actually need to refocus. You say it. You say what you have to do, because you figured it out, my friend.
We need to refocus, I believe, the isometric tetryon field coil in the port nacelle, coming from the power transfer conduits to the warp coils.
And she does a smack on her forehead. Of course. Why didn't I think of that? I've never.
It was a team effort, Lieutenant.
She smiles and she nods her head and she says, Lieutenant Commander, I don't want this to sound the wrong way, but I've never. She leans in a little bit. I've never worked with
an android before.
Yes, sir.
Well, I have never worked with a Bronson before.
And that gets a bright, warm smile on her face and nods her head, and I look forward to it, sir. Thank you.
Indeed. Krebs spoke highly of you, and that is, of course, why you have been assigned.
Just smiles and nods her head, and then we once more zoom back up to the ready room with the captain, and he asks the same question. Why this Lieutenant Commander Flitz? Talk to us.
Well, he worked on the design phase of the ship that we're going to embark on. He has a focus in engineering. It seems only fitting that he should maintain the engines he had a hand in designing. To see his work do what it was intended to and explore.
He just got his hand on his beard, and he's just doing that thing that I often do, where he just kind of strokes his beard, thinks about it. There is one concern I have, Captain. Just one. And for the first time in your conversation, you've been talking for a better part of an hour, close to 2 hours. Mm-hmm. He leans back and he strokes his beard, and he sets his data pad down. He brings his hands together and he folds them in front of himself, and he leans way back. Kind of the teacher, or parent looking down the bridge of their nose at you. This is the first time that he almost seems admirally, if that's a word. Can I use that as an adjective? Admirally? But he looks at you. Tell me if you're chief of security. Why? Then we're going to zoom down to. We're actually going to go into one of the like storage bays, and you're overseeing some weapons being brought on, some military quote unquote equipment being brought on. Lieutenant
Phe'lan.
That's what I said. You can't prove otherwise. We'll fix it in post.
Yes.
All right. So Lieutenant Phe'lan. Lieutenant, how do you say it again? Phe'lan. I gotta say it in Klingon. Phe'lan. There it is. All right, good. More phlegm. But yes, you are overseeing, and there's a bunch of security personnel around. They're all maneuvering and putting things away, and I want you to take a moment to describe yourself, and then I'm going to give you a situation for you to interact and deal with, and I want to see how you respond to it. All right? So describe sort of what you're doing, and then what your character looks like, and then we'll take it from there. All right?
Okay. Yeah, Lieutenant Phe'lan, he's fairly pale for a Klingon, which is to say, kind of like the Discovery era, where they have the few that are sort of whitish looking. He has the traditional Klingon forehead ridges. He's got a row of them down the center of his forehead, and then one on each of his temples. Has a bit of a high crown line and long black hair going down the back. His facial features are severe. His face is almost always in a permanent scowl, not helped by the fact that his right eye is missing. There is a eye patch over it and a long scar running from his forehead down his cheek. It has a little bit of a goatee. Wearing the Starfleet uniform, but he is also wearing his old uniform's gloves and the Klingon sash, the baldric. And as
Okay,
he is,
Worf.
yeah,
I love it. I love it. I say that endearingly and with love.
Oh yeah,
truly,
no,
truly.
It's hard to do a Klingon.
I
and
love
not
it.
just make him
I
warm.
love it.
But he is he's directing the crew, and it's like, when I joined the Federation, I was under the impression that I would be joining the same Starfleet that defeated the Borg. And yet here I am, commanding a bunch of wastes of perfectly good energy.
Oh, watch it! It's gonna fall! And a whole stack of containers comes tumbling. You hear someone let out a yelp of pain. Someone's leg's been crushed. People start to kind of scurry around like a bunch of ants. I want you to take a moment before you respond verbally. What is your physical reaction in this moment? Do you tense up? Do you start to shake? What does he do the instant that happens and he sees them, as he was just saying, mucking it up?
He goes wide-eyed. Well, his one eye goes wide. And immediately starts beelining it over to the scene of the accident. Like, if there's someone in his way, he's getting him out of the way.
As he goes to move, he feels a firm, but at the same time, somewhat calming hand on his shoulder. Would he look over his shoulder? Is he gonna Worf throw him? Like, what would he do? But he feels a firm hand on his shoulder.
He tenses up for a second and stops himself, and then looks over his shoulder.
You would see First Officer Commander Ulrich, or Commander Maz, everyone likes to call him, and he is wearing that same warm, bright smile that he had on his face when he talked to Lieutenant Commander Stern. And he just smiles at you. And he asks, "Something the matter, Lieutenant?"
His crew lacks discipline. And that discipline just got one of my crewmen injured.
He just narrows his eyes at you, and still on the shoulder, firm. Not like if you wanted to move, you could, but it's a firm hand on his shoulder. He just looks at you, and he sort of tilts his head left, then right, then left. When's the last time you had a drink, Lieutenant?
Are you speaking of a social drink, or are you speaking of to the point of inebriation?
Dealer's choice.
Well, the last time I drank enough to affect myself was at the reception of my wedding.
How long ago was that?
5 standard years.
And he lets out a... Right. You are Chief of Security. You were chosen for this job because the captain, myself, and the Admiral believe you are the right Klingon for the job. May I offer you a small bit of Starfleet advice?
Proceed, sir.
He weighs down his hand on your shoulder just enough to slightly dip it, and then releases. A heavy hand is not always the best. See to your personnel, Lieutenant. Dismissed. Then he'll turn and he'll walk out, leaving you to think about that. So how do you respond to this situation after that moment? Oh God, my leg! Oh
Yeah.
God,
How
oh it
is
burns!
everyone else?
Panic,
How is like the rest of the
frantic.
crew?
They're getting a gurney for him, and they're like getting him picked up, and like it's bad. Like he busted his
Right.
leg. Yeah.
I will collect myself, and with an even voice, I will say, "You two prepare the lift. We will get that weight off of him." And then I will call into medbay, letting them know that there's been an accident. We have an injured leg that needs tending.
Lieutenant Commander Stern. Stern, you get a comm chirp. Go ahead, talk to her in character. Characters
here.
interacting. Woo.
Lieutenant Commander Stern.
Lieutenant Phe'lan.
We have an incident in Bay 4.
Oh God, it
A minor injury.
Oh
One
God.
of my crewmen
Oh,
has
my
been
leg.
incapacitated.
Oh, it's
He is
horrible.
in need of medical attention.
Yeah, you overhear this.
We haven't even left yet. All right. Does they require emergency transport?
I believe so.
All right.
Uh,
My team will get to work on it right away.
And moments later, the injured crew member is transported to the medical bay. Lieutenant Stern, Commander Stern, you are able to perform a quick. It's a pretty simple fix. Like it was fractured, but space magic. You can fix it, right? Like I mean, it's what it is. It's the future. It's all good. So it's all good. But Lieutenant Flint, please. Phe'lan, that's what I said.
Yes. Back in the I will address the rest of the crew. Who was the last crewman to handle that storage container?
A lieutenant now. Lieutenant walks forward and he goes, that'd be me, sir. Lieutenant Jenkins here. It was the strap, you see, it broke when I was picking it up and I was gonna fix it, but the thing is, it fell before I could fix it, and I'm sorry, sir.
So, you neglected the proper procedure in order to accomplish your task more quickly, I assume.
No, I was gonna fix it, but then John's bumped into it, and so it fell on him.
Jenkins, you are relieved for your shift. I expect you to spend the rest of your shift reviewing procedural manuals.
But yes, sir. And Jenkins turns on his heel, like marches out. No anger, just disappointment on his face. And as you say that to him, you can feel the weight of the commander's hand. Like you can just feel it on your shoulder for a moment. And I'll leave it to you how you interpret that feeling, whether you did the right thing, the wrong thing, or just a thing. But I'm going to leave that to you for a moment just to kind of sit with that. So we're going to go back up to the captain. Finally, we come to the last of your command crew, as it were, and he asks the same questions. You're at the tail end. What does the captain say why he chose this Klingon?
You know my service record, sir. In 2405, when the war broke out, I was in command of the USS Stockwell. It was a patrol craft. We engaged Klingons in the opening months of the war. And it didn't go well. We were boarded. The Klingons began systematically slaughtering every member of my crew as we tried to drive them off. But one Klingon saw the difference between honor and slaughter and chose to speak. Every other voice was silent. With his help, I saved the ship and what was left of my crew. A great deal of people in Starfleet uniforms owe that man their life. And because of his actions, he is less than welcome with his own people. I intend to make him as welcome as possible with Starfleet.
That admirally sort of stance that he's had once again softens. His warm smile appears once more on his face. And he reaches out for a moment to take the data pad and then just puts his hand on the desk. Captain, I think you're ready. As ready as I was when I took my first real command. I have no idea what you're going to experience out there in the unknown. Something tells me you... And he extends his hand across the table to shake yours.
Yeah,
Take it.
he'll take his hand, sure.
I know that you, along with this magnificent crew you've put together, you'll see them through. I have a few things to take care of prior to officially handing the vessel over to you. Is there anything else I can do for you before I leave you to your own devices for a few hours?
No, Admiral. Of course, the ready room is yours if you need to use it.
I think I'll leave this one to you. It'll be yours in a few hours anyway. Maybe think about what sort of things you'll spruce it up with, right? Gets up, gives you a nod, turns and walks, and this would be the moment if this was a show that like the title screen would come up and it'd be like Star Trek Hubris, next we do our intro where we met all the characters, right? That's where we'd be this, and we're actually gonna do our opening log now, for prior to kind of heading out. This is sort of our prologue, as it were, from it. But let me go ahead and grab that really quick. So. Session 1, 47.634.44, the event log. Admiral Traso, personal log, stardate 47634.44. The Erebus A is, well, slightly ahead of a schedule, and I'm excited to place Captain Israh in command, fully releasing the vessel and its crew to him, well, fully. Lieutenant Phe'lan has been a bit fussy about security training, something about being in another galaxy so far away, you have to be sure that you're on, or you get the picture, etc., etc. The ship itself, though, herself, that is to say, is a state-of-the-art one, never before seen by Starfleet. Never before has Starfleet attempted such a bold mission. At least, that's my opinion, and what's a personal log for if not to give one's own opinion? To go through a wormhole into a completely different galaxy, knowing full well that one will be stuck there for more or less than 5 Earth years? I did my fair share of jumping around on the Ragnar, but even then, I respect this crew, these people, families, for committing to this mission. Lieutenant Stern has requested a modular lab be fitted with some additional synthesizers in case of outbreaks or other medical emergencies, which I have granted the additional resources for, despite what Lieutenant Commander Flitz complained about, that it would draw too much power or something, but he's a good engineer. He came highly recommended, and I'm confident that if anyone can figure it out, it's going to be him. One of the only ones I'm unsure of is civilian, Mr. Shah's, but after speaking with the captain, I think I understand why he was chosen. At the end of the day, one must trust the captain of the ship to make the right decisions for their ship. The ship is due to enter the wormhole in just a few hours, and I'm excited to see them off and wish them well. Fair weather, clear skies, my friends. And log. And we move forward several hours. The Ship itself has departed from the space dock. Captain, you've been given full command. There was a small ceremony that took place. There was a quote unquote like passing of like he gave you a Captain Traso gave you this tiny little like wooden ship's wheel that is sort of like a little like model, and it had like the little the end the numbers of the ship on it. It had the name, and then there's a like underneath the ship's old like wooden wheel. There was a little miniature model of the vessel itself, and he gave it to you. It's like a little like trophy, and he gave it to you as a little parting gift. And he said, "I had this synthesized. Uh, spruce up your room a little bit. First of many, I hope." But as you are now sitting in the captain's chair, the ship is yours. Captain, the wormhole is out in front of you. Your staff is with you on the bridge. The supplies is on board. The ship is ready to depart. Sitting next to you is your number one, who has that, I would say, that Riker smile. That's the way that I'm imagining him, to be candid. You know, it is what it is. And he's just kind of leaning back, and he's like, he leans over and he whispers to you, Captain. So what's your thing gonna be, Captain? The thing.
My thing.
Yeah, like, you know, like get it going. Sally forth. Wiggity
No,
wham wham wazzle. What are you gonna say?
No, Commander. I think I've got that covered, but there's one thing that I have to do first.
Sure. Your ship, sir.
And he hits a panel, and you hear that sort of bosun's whistle sound, and yeah, he just says, "To all crew and passengers, the USS Erebus. This is the captain. We are ready to depart. We stand on the threshold of the great unknown. The days, months, and years ahead will be fraught with unimaginable discoveries, and likely more than our share of hardships. Every person aboard this vessel has chosen the road less traveled, the road untraveled. And I want you all to know that though we've only been together a short time, I cannot imagine a finer group to undertake this great exploration with. Senior staff, all hands, make ready for departure. Helm, set course 117, Mark 35, 1/4 impulse.
Setting course, Captain. 1/4 impulse. And as the ship departs, we watch as the nacelles light up, and it starts to slowly but surely make its way towards this wormhole. And I want you to imagine that this wormhole looks like if you've ever seen lightning inside of a dark storm cloud at night, and there's those flashes, and you can sort of see the formulations, you can see the curves and the edges of it. Almost looks more like a nebula than it does a wormhole. But as you get closer and closer to it, this swirling cloud of nebulous gas and these sort of lightning arcs, you can see the sort of small pinprick as the ship gets closer, gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And as you approach this, it's like this elongating where literally space itself seems to stretch out, and this beautiful purple, blues, and yellows, and these sort of soft white colors as this massive maw sort of opens up. And I use the word maw not to infer some sort of danger per se, but you are indeed going into a mouth of a beast unknown, a whole galaxy the Federation has never before explored, as it has never had a chance until now. And as it forms up we're going to have the science officer, and I guess the science professor, I should say. I'd like you to give us another check. You're going to give us a control science. You're going to make a scan, all right? And I want you're going to be scanning the wormhole to make sure that it is indeed stable for the ship to travel through.
Difficulty?
No difficulty. I'm giving you guys some momentum.
Okay.
Yeah, think about that. Why is he being so nice? Why is he giving us so much momentum? Great question. We're going to find out soon. It's 2 additional momentum for you. So as you make the scan, you do indeed find that the wormhole is stable. However, science officer, there's something off about the wormhole. It is almost as if you are seeing the wormhole itself, and then imagine that my hands are right here, and they're just slightly off-kiltered. So you're seeing the wormhole, but you're also seeing like a slight mirror image of it. Like there's almost 2 wormholes together that are sort of superimposed over one another and are sort of struggling for, well, for dominance. Is the best way I can describe it. You may ask a question. You are the science officer. You may ask an additional question, of course. You may make another check. It's entirely up to you. You may share this information.
I think his first impulse is going to be to swivel in his chair slightly towards the captain and say, Mr. Shruth, I've found that the regular...
Captain, if you please.
Captain, I've found that the wormhole seems to be exhibiting no unusual orientations in its neutrino field. However, there is some bizarre form of superimposition between 2 apparently quantum variant states of the wormhole, and he'll bring up the scan on the screen. As a question, is this dimensional or temporal variance? Like, is it like 2 different time periods are overlapping each other, or 2 different places in space are overlapping each other?
Yes to both questions.
It seemed as if the wormhole is existing in 2 temporal and quantum states at the same time.
Can you define them?
So I'll spend another momentum, or that was my sort of free question. I'll spend 1 momentum. What are those 2 time and space periods?
So what is interesting is that the 2 time periods that you're picking up on your side of the wormhole seem to be within mere milliseconds of one another. It is very subtle. However, as you extrapolate out the distance of which you will travel when you go through this wormhole, the wormhole is space folding in on itself. It's still going to take you a far distance. When you extrapolate it out, when you look at the data, you're looking at roughly a year difference between those 2 states on the other side.
Well, Captain, the spatial distinction is not overly significant, but it seems as if there's a year's variance. I would posit that there's some form of inherent instability in the wormhole's matrix. These subspace phenomenon are naturally... What would be the right word? Well, queer.
So, Dr. Thane, will we be arriving 1 year after we left or 1 year before we left?
He's going to then turn over to the engineer. Mr. Flitz, is there anything that you could do to modify the ship that might cause those 2 quantum or temporal states to coalesce and allow us to control our emergence?
I would very like to see if there's something that I could do for that. Is there some sort of role that I could do for that?
There absolutely is. There would be a reason engineering, perhaps something with the shields or whatnot. And then if you want to use that technobabble button, you can explain what you need to do.
Okay. So let's go with reason and engineering.
So I think
Submit.
Wolf, in the meantime, the captain's going to order a full stop.
Yep.
Before we
Ship comes
go
to a
through
full
the wormhole.
stop. You are, a distance away. Space is very big, right?
Mhm.
Close if you go to full impulse, but you're a ways away.
I would like to use a momentum for this to give myself a 3d20.
Difficulty of 2 on this, by the way. I'm going to add some difficulty. All right.
Okay.
I'm not going to just give you freebies all night. Okay.
Would my rapid hypothesis focus come into play here? I've asked 2 questions and formed a hypothesis based on the information I gained from those questions.
Yes.
So that it creates an advantage, reducing the difficulty of what he's doing.
Absolutely. That is brilliant. Well played. I love that. So yes, your difficulty is 1.
Excellent. I have a focus of theoretical and experimental physics.
100%. It's perfect.
Would that be
almost like you guys are
excellent?
perfect crew, and the captain chose well for this mission. Well done. Well done. Ooh, an extra get the momentum right back. Beautiful. So you would know. Go ahead and pop that technobabble button for us. Let's use our technology. Love it. So you would just have to
reroute the backup photon feed catalyst of the main deflector dish. I believe would allow us to collapse the waveform, so to speak.
Make it so.
Very well, Captain. Beep 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 beep.
beep 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 beep. And as
Yeah,
you
make the
as
beeping
you
noise.
modulate it, it goes.
He
very
actually does make the beeping noise under his breath a little bit.
well. I love that journey for him. That's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And as you do so, the deflector array is modulated. The shields are modulated to help stabilize the wormhole, and it seems that the ship is now ready to enter into the great unknown, as it were.
All right. Helm. Stand by to resume previous course, and he'll look over at the commander, at the first officer, and he'll sort of raise his hand in the sort of Picard style, point it forward, and go, "Make way."
And your first officer gets a big grin on his face, but his expression says, "Eh." Just says, "All right." And then he leans in, and he goes, "We'll work on it."
Now, Commander, I thought it was perfectly fine.
Nobody asked you.
Yes.
And as the ship proceeds forward, we watch as it enters into the wormhole. And as it enters into the wormhole, a couple of interesting things happen. Captain, you start to hear voices. Start to hear what sounds like shouting, screaming, yelling. But it's very distant. It's like a distant memory. It's like remembering something traumatic, and it's in the back of your mind, but you can still just vaguely hear it. And everyone around you, Captain, starts to seem like they're moving very slowly. And you know those scenes in like movies where like there's the disaster happening and everything's blurry and fuzzy to show that like it's chaotic. You start to see that. But as you look, nothing's happening. Simultaneously, everyone else starts to have a similar feeling. You start to hear shouting, yelling, screaming, and everything starts to move slow. The only one that is unaffected by this is Lieutenant Commander Flitz. Now, Flitz, what you see, as everyone else is focused more on the mental stimulation, and so for Shaz, you are seeing like weird images and you're hearing things like in your mind. You're starting to see, you start to actually see, because your psychic abilities, members of the crew around you, like consoles exploding and like horrible things happening, but at the same time you're also seeing that not happening. So very similar to the way I described this sort of superimposed, you're seeing both things happening simultaneously. But as that rush of emotions, those voices, as the ship proceeds deeper and deeper into this wormhole, as the blue swirling and these purples and these like soft kind of white colors are swirling around the ship, those images for you start to dissipate. And Lieutenant Commander Flitz, we have a very important role that you're going to make. You notice that your modulation of the shield, the wormhole seems to be fighting it. The wormhole literally seems to be pushing against your modulation and trying to destabilize itself as though it wants to. And as you are at your console and everyone else is having this moment, Lieutenant Phe'lan, you are starting to remember, like, you're starting to see strange creatures appearing on the bridge. You're seeing these bird-like creatures that have these strange claws and are clawing people apart, and you feel like you want to rush for your weapons, but you can't move. It's just this, it's like you're paralyzed in this moment. But you, Flitz, Lieutenant Commander Flitz, you are still in control. I'm going to have you make a check, but as you look out the main view screen, you see everyone else is having this moment, like hands on faces, eyes wide, starting to maybe panic a little bit. As you look out, you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mirrored images of the Hubris that seem to all be moving simultaneously. And as you are responding to this wormhole literally trying to push back as though it is a living being itself, you watch one of them explode, another one shear in half, another one seems to crumple in and implode in on itself, and then there are 2 that remain. And they are like, it's like one's just barely in front of you, like you can just see the underside of the ship, but you know it's your ship, just in front of you, like, and then you move in front, and then it moves in front, and then you move in front. It goes back and forth, back and forth. You're gonna make a very important check. We'll see how long this series is going to be. It'll be a very short series. Now have you make a difficulty.
Very nice meeting y'all.
Difficulty 3 check. Difficulty 3 check. Be control engineering.
Kick ass. Andy, C4A, I'll see you on Monday.
Yeah.
See you guys around. Take it away.
I'm gonna use 3 momentum to get 2 extra dice.
All right. I mean, whatever. I'd like my Fridays back. No, I'm a terrible person.
Let's see. Would my theoretical experimental physics focus work for this?
In the wise words of me, yes.
Excellent. All right. Hold on to your butts.
Dun dun dun.
See you.
Booyah!
Oh, there it is.
Nice. Let's go.
We love to see it. We absolutely love to see it. And as the 2 ships are neck and neck, almost like a chariot race, with one ship pulling ahead, and then another, and then the one, and they're back and forth. You watch as the 2 ships seem to separate. What you watch is that the one that was to the side, you watch as it seems to speed up, moving farther and farther ahead, and then disappears. A few seconds later, maybe 6 to 7 seconds at most, you find yourselves no longer in a wormhole, but in a massive debris field. The helm officer brings the ship to a full stop. And as you look around out the view screen, you see what looks to be a graveyard of vessels. On first inspection of them, simple by simple visuals, you're not sure what you're looking at. But then a piece of debris floats by, and what you see on this debris is the number NCC 77227-A. Kind of slowly floats by. I'm going to leave the scene to you guys to determine how you'd like to proceed. So once again, you're in a massive debris field. Dozens, if not hundreds of vessels likely exploded here. What do you guys like to do?
Oh shit.
First, Lieutenant Phe'lan, yellow alert, please. Dr. Thane, I want you to scan for any active power sources, any life signs.
and he seems stunned for a moment. He's just staring at the view screen where that hunk of the Erebus itself,
Just
Yeah.
like
Stephen was in,
slowly
is
drifting
sliding by.
like just like across the view screen.
And Cmdr Flitz, get a tractor beam on that piece of debris. Bring it aboard.
Aye, Captain. That must have been one of the ones I saw during our transit.
One of the ones you saw.
Yes. Saw several. While you biologicals were indisposed.
And he's going to tap his comm badge.
I took readings.
Sick bay, this is the captain.
Stern here. Captain, what the fuck was that?
So you experienced visual and auditory hallucinations as well?
Yes.
Well, Doctor, I was hoping you'd be able to answer that question for me.
We'll get to work on it.
Thank
We're
you.
going to stick with the doctor for a moment. Doctor, you are in the medical bay, correct?
Mhm.
Okay. You are alone, save for like one other nurse who's in the medical bay right now. But you are, let's say you're in the medical bay. I want you to imagine if you've seen Discovery, that's the way I envision the medical bay for this ship. It's like a big, broad, wide open. There's like that back area with the sort of that futuristic looking thing.
Kick-ass lighting.
Kick-ass lighting. Very nice medical bay, right? And as you are looking around, you look back to this sort of glass area, which is like your office, and also there's like a surgery bed in there. And you blink, and you see something. Someone, more to the point. I want you to imagine you've played some Dungeons and Dragons, right? You know what a Tengu is?
No.
Okay. It's literally like a bird person. So like
Cool.
beak, feathers. This particular bird person, though, looks like a parakeet. Bright reds, yellows, feathers all around. They are dressed in what appears to be this kind of dried, like leatherish looking uniform. There is what's on there, what appears to be, it looks like a Starfleet badge. Like it looks like a badge that they have. It's a little comm badge. And they are looking at their hands, looking at you, and their eyes are just like, what in the God's green earth is going on here? They look terrified and confused. Their colors look to be medical. It's like like a brown leather, but then they have the shoulder pads, like the colorings, which is that like blue green, okay, like that like greenish blue, and they're just staring at you, and their expression is like a wide open bird expression, like what?
Okay. Computer lock. Medical office door.
Okay. And the bird person rushes to the door and tries to open it, and then starts to panic. And you start to hear these, what I would best describe as these like screeching, nervous bird noises. Like if you've ever heard like an angry bird, Chewbacca, thank you so much for the sub, man. I appreciate you. If you've ever heard an angry bird, they start to make those noises, and they start to like tap with, they have humanoid-like hands, but they're like feathery, like tap on the window, and then start to bang, and they're starting to, you can tell without even checking, they're starting to have a panic attack. Like you've trapped them in an office. How do you proceed?
I will walk up to the glass and attempt to computer lights 5%.
It's dim.
I forgot my dot is also named computer, so she just went off.
That is hilarious. And I love that journey for you.
She was like, I don't know how to do that.
I love it. The lights dim down in the office or in the main area?
In the office.
In the office. Perfect. Lights dim down.
My thought process is like, with the bird, you put like a sheet over it. You
Yeah.
calm it down.
It seems to... No, that's brilliant. I love it. I love it. Let's love it. It seems to take a deep breath in, and then it places its hand on the glass. And it's this feathery hand, and there are these blues and greens and these kind of soft whites. And you didn't see it because you were in the medical bay, but to the discerning eye, it looks like the same colors as the wormhole. It puts its hand on the glass, and it leans forward, and it's muted because it's speaking through the glass. But it says, "I don't mean to be rude, miss, but what are you doing in my medical bay? And why have you locked me in my office?"
I'm gonna put my hand up on this side of the glass. We'll have our always shall be your friend moment. And I will I'm hoping there's like a tricorder nearby.
Of course.
Grab one of those and try to run a scan on this stranger.
Yeah.
Your medical bay?
Yes, I was assigned to the vessel as its chief medical officer. And what in the God's green earth are you? You have no feathers. It's quite disturbing, if I might say so myself.
What ship do you think you're on?
Well, I'm on the Hubris.
Take my hand off the glass. Medbay to security.
Doot-doot-doot-doot. Medbay to security.
This is security.
You get two comm things at the same time.
This is
Doot-doot-doot-doot-doot.
this is security.
Is he a parrot so he's going to
Both of
repeat
you?
everything I say?
This is Chief Medical Officer Cog Quallet. There's an intruder here in the medical bay. She has no feathers.
And while he's saying that, I'm also reporting about the intruder having feathers appeared out of nowhere. I've got him locked in the office.
Prank calls are punishable by extra PT.
She has locked me in the office. I demand that you get down here immediately and deal with her. I have work to do.
Heavy hand is not always necessarily the best. And
because you're on the bridge, the first officer looks back over his shoulder up at the wharf station and goes, "Sometimes it is the best. You just have to make the decision on which time is right and which time is not."
Very well, then. I will call up two other members of my security team. Let's see. Who's on the security detail? Because we have that.
But
let's go with Cartwright Jenkins.
And what you hear is when you call for Jenkins, you hear what sounds like somebody playing what's the one where you hit the ball against the wall?
Racquetball, swing
Racquetball. That's the one. You hear somebody going, "Ka-tish, ah, ka-tish. Jenkins here. What can I do for you?" "Ka-tish."
Meet me at the medical bay. Set phases to stun.
You told me I was done for the rest of the day, sir. "Ka-tish."
New situations have arisen.
All right. Give me 10. I'll be there. Make it 5.
I have 5.
Yeah, all right. And as the chief of security gets ready to go meet with his folks, Captain.
Lieutenant, maybe I'd better go with you.
As you wish, Captain.
Absolutely brilliant. And I think this is a brilliant time for us to take a quick 10-minute break. We're going to do an intermission. So our episodes for Star Trek Erebus are going to be a little bit longer than the classic DerWolfDen episodes of roughly about an hour and a half to 2 hours. We're going to be doing these bi-weekly, so twice a month. So we're going to be doing a quick intermission to allow everyone a chance to lift a leg, grab a drink of water, think about bird people, and then we are going to dive into the second half of our first episode here momentarily. So stick with us, take a break yourself, but we'll be back here momentarily for some more of our weird series that we've got going on here. And until then, be well and be safe. We'll be right back. All right, everybody? Stick around.
That should be my
Alright.
command phrase.
Let's go.
Do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
No,
Do
thanks.
it!
Do it.
Do it!
Welcome
do it
back,
now!
everyone, after our short interlude there. Thank you so much for sticking with us. We return now to Shmandy eating pretzels, which is delicious. And that is the rest of our episode. Just Shmandy
Yes.
eating pretzels.
Welcome
Just loudly
to-
eating pretzels
that we-
right into the microphone.
Now that we've got your attention,
Yeah.
second half of our show is the Shmandy pretzel
Like,
review.
what's the opposite of ASMR? What's like the most just like unpleasant?
I
No
think that's
ASMR.
I think that's still
Yeah, yeah,
ASMR.
you said it. Yeah, you said the thing. Yeah, just
I think that is the
I
thing.
think it's a Jordan Peterson podcast.
Oh, don't even start with me on that one. All right, let's get going here. You old
right.
we're doing Star
buckaroo.
Trek, Wolf.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
just
All
Anywho,
right,
All
let me
right,
just-
Andrew Tate.
hold on.
That's awful.
Let me just hold on. Let me just take my soapbox and put it over here. All right. all right.
Yeah, we don't have time for that right now.
All right.
Yeah,
Anyway,
we
so
got
we last
bird
left off our
people to
intrepid
interrogate.
adventurers, a bird person, claiming to be the chief medical officer of the Erebus, because I've been saying it wrong. It's Erebus. I pick the name and I fuck it up. That's classic DerWolf. There it is. But as we
Shall pay for
watch,
your
we
Erebus.
see that the chief of security, along with the captain and a few of the security personnel, including Lieutenant Jenkins, have made their way down to medical. So we open our scene after our quick commercial break, which really wasn't commercials. Shameless plug for DerWolf merchandise. All right, but with that being said, we are now back in the medical bay. And we see this bird person who no longer seems to be panicking. The lights are low. This bird person simply has an arm crossed over its chest, and it's tapping its beak. Just tapping its beak, and it's thinking. And it seems to be having a silent conversation with itself. And it's pacing back and forth like a bird on a power line. Just like hopping and hopping and hopping. Or a bird on a porch, like going for seed. Back and forth. Lieutenant Phe'lan, Captain, Lieutenant Commander Stern. Here we are. Take it away.
Stern is watching it. She's kind of leaning back against one of the bio beds and just watching it go back and forth.
Yeah, but where?
Commander Stern. I don't recognize its species.
For the GM, would my tricorder
Make a check.
pick up
Yeah,
what it
let's
is?
make a check. I love that. Go
Okay.
for it. I'm assuming you left the first officer in charge of the bridge.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right, straight
Oh,
into the
so I was
breeze
like,
field.
who's driving?
Maximum warp. All right.
Don't worry about it.
We just careen and
Give us a control medicine difficulty of 3.
It's like
Very alien species, like nothing you've ever seen before.
feels to me like we're doing donuts.
Could I
think
use
we're doing donuts.
xenobiology as a focus?
Absolutely, 100%, sister. Holy schmolies.
I'm sorry. You said difficulty 3.
Yep, and control medicine.
Yeah.
All right. Here's the things you pick up. You didn't succeed, but here's what you pick up. Definitely some sort of humanoid, obviously. What stands out to you, Lieutenant Commander Stern, is that this bird, as you are scanning its DNA, as you are analyzing it, it seems like it shares a lot of similarities with you.
Mm.
I'm not going to elaborate because you didn't make the check, but I'm going to give you that because I think it's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And it should raise more questions than it gives answers.
Succeeded, yeah.
Yeah, and then I think the captain will walk up to the glass and just sort of observe it.
Think.
As
I don't know who you people are, but I demand to speak to my captain right now.
Oh, his accent has changed, Captain, since you've come in.
Captain, may I request that you take one step to the side? You are blocking my line of fire.
Tink, tink, tink,
Yeah. the
Don't
captain-
you dare shoot in
Tink,
my
tink.
face.
tink,
It's on stun.
tink, tink, tink. It's like it's hitting its beak on the glass.
And yeah, the captain will just.
Stern will be like, "You two, you stop tapping on the glass.
Tink, 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 tink.
You mother."
It is new. I'm Captain Israh Shruth. I'm the captain of the Erebus.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
No, you're not. Baka!
This is the rest of the session.
Yep, that's me. All right.
Who do you think is in command of this vessel? How do you even know of this vessel? Who are you and where do you come from? Are you
Captain
native to this
Bupka.
galaxy?
Captain Bupka. Singot is captain. Captain, he is captain. Baka! Why don't you have any feathers?
I'm not an avian species.
Not
I am
avian species.
I'm Andorian.
I demand to speak to the captain. Baka!
I am the captain.
And we do the thing again. We do the bit again. Yeah.
Computer,
And-
who is the captain of the USS Erebus?
The computer, interestingly enough,
Computer, stop.
stops talking.
Not you.
Oh, the computer says, "Well, I'm getting mixed signals." The computer says the captain of the Erebus is Captain Bupka Singat.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
So I'm gonna try something. Computer, locate Captain
Boop.
Bupka Singat.
Singat. B-U-B-K-A. Bupka Singat.
Oh.
S-I-G-O-T. Bupka Singat. Captain Bupka Singat is currently in his ready room. Cut to a scene on the bridge. Another bird person walks out. Similar plumage. Looks at everyone on the bridge and goes, "What the hell are you doing on my bridge? And why don't you have any feathers?" During the break, science officer, you had a question you wanted to ask me. And I think this is a great moment before we deal with this situation for you to tell me, to ask me this question.
When we emerged from the wormhole, given that we determined that it seemed to be fighting against us, I wanted to scan the region telepathically and the wormhole itself to see if I detected any kind of consciousness in the area or localized in the wormhole itself.
You control medicine. Difficulty of
Well,
2.
that'll fail miserably.
Failure can be fun. The dice have a story to tell.
Yeah, but I don't know why it's medicine. So I will give you one momentum if that's okay with the group. To
Oh, yeah.
If you want to argue for something else, I'm fine with it. Just because I told you to roll a certain thing, you'd be like, "Well, what if, DerWolf?
No, it's not. Yes, it is.
Do this." Could be. I don't know. Possibly.
We'll go for it now, and then maybe I'll pitch something at another time.
I love that journey for you. Dimble, thank you so much for the sub, man. I appreciate you, man.
So my focus of telepathy will give me a range of 1 for critical success.
Ah, nice.
There we
Look
go.
at that.
Hey.
That's you know what? The dice have a story to tell, and the story is DerWolf can't pull one fast over on Matthew. That's all good.
Yes.
So you did not get a psychic reading as though the wormhole itself had a personality, but you picked up, like I had described when you were traveling through, multiple personalities all happening simultaneously. And it feels like as you reach out to the wormhole to scan telepathically, that there is a similar telepathic impression. It feels like it's almost you reaching out and touching yourself, but it's got more feathers.
Whoa.
It's the best
Phrasing.
way. Yeah. Fine.
It's
It's
right there on
Making
the
psionic
bridge.
contact with myself.
touching yourself.
Not any
sonically.
better.
Deeply, passionately. All right, moving on. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. I'm not trying to. Fuck. God damn it.
It comes naturally.
Thanks for watching, y'all. Have a good evening.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah.
Gosh darn it. Son of a biscuit. Just a monkey in my head. Just tink, 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 tink.
So I'm detecting essentially alternate universe versions of myself
And the rest of the crew. Correct.
Right.
Cool.
Am I still detecting them, or did that fade away once we left?
You are detecting them actively.
Okay.
Yeah. They seem stuck.
Mood.
Then he would actually report that to the commander and offer the supposition that all of these various different quantum states and myriad multiple alternate realities are almost overlapping, and perhaps this is a place wherein the barrier between universes is particularly thin.
He looks over at the bird captain. I'll deal with you in a second. Solutions. Science officer, person, doctor, professor, doctor. A solution, sir.
At this juncture, we don't even know what the nature of the phenomenon is. He's actually sort of like looking back and forth between the commander and the bird person, gradually staring at the bird person.
Your comm badge chirps, by the way, Lieutenant Phe'lan.
Security speaking.
This is a captain. Intruders on the bridge.
You know what, Lieutenant? Why don't you stay here and I'll go? This should be interesting.
Agreed.
Dr. Stern, please enjoy your conversation with this bird doctor.
How could she be a doctor? She has no feathers.
That's racist.
Yeah.
Does everybody from your universe have is it I wonder if it's the United Federation of Planets.
Oh my god, that's so much better than what I was coming up with. Oh man.
Oh god, I just threw up in my mouth a little bit.
I'm gonna go out on a wire here and say that we're done now.
Oh.
Good night, everybody.
Tweet, 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 tweet.
Oh, this whole thing was set up just to make that pun.
Just to make that one pun.
That's it, we're
Congratulations.
See y'all in 2 weeks.
This is going to be a good series.
Oh man.
It is going to be something.
But yeah, I guess the captain's going to go back up to the bridge because
My eyes
there's
are
a bird
watery.
person.
That was so funny.
Oh man.
Oh, balls. Yeah. Okay, Captain. So you're heading back up. I'd like to take a couple moments here, at least, with the
please.
good professor. And
I'll leave you with that little rosebud.
that's good.
Yeah.
And this bird person, its plumage is all floofed up. It looks upset and angry, and it's trying to give orders to its non-feather friends, but no one's listening.
I assume Commander Flitz is on the bridge?
Yes, he is. He's sitting in his chair,
is, yeah.
like lounging in the chair, and just kind of looking over at the bird person, looking into you. He's like, I need options, people. Something, please.
Lieutenant Commander Flitz, would you mind standing next to the bird captain?
Indeed.
Indeed, you would mind. I understand why, but
He goes over.
The bird person goes for what you think might be a phaser, but it doesn't have one on its hip. Like it goes to reach for it. It's like, where's my phaser?
That would be ill-advised, sir.
In the shape of a seed bill.
Mm-hmm.
and Thane is going to take the tricorder from his belt and scan both of them, looking for their particular quantum resonance signature that marks them as being native to a particular universe and correlating that with the ship itself.
Oh, I'm going to give this to you for free. That's a great question. I'm going to make you roll. Make you roll. We're going to make this a free roll, though, because you're on the right track. And just give us a roll science.
It's so in universe.
3 momentum. Brilliant. I love that journey for you.
And a fourth because I believe Drill paid for
Oh yes,
Positivity.
to drill.
Hey.
Oh, Drillian coming in the clutch. Let's go. So brilliantly done. So yes, indeed, they are not of your universe, right? They are from likely a parallel dimension, a parallel universe, but it is so close. It is almost difficult to tell them apart as you are analyzing them. But with the 3 successes, I mean, you do identify that, yes, they are from a same timeline, but a different version of that timeline, right? So you are literally mirrors of each other.
So with his antenna sort of almost aggressively pointing forward, he's going to display the screen of the tricorder and the 2 quantum resonance signatures side by side, and then say to the bird captain, as a Starfleet officer, I understand that you are predisposed to emotional excesses and violent solutions to your problems, but I think that you'll see
Why
that
goggles on your head?
because it's native to my species.
Rude.
God, you can't just ask why they have doggles on their heads.
If you'll note the quantum resonance signature, and he'll go into a description that probably goes over the captain's head about
Captain
the nature
just
of multiple universes.
reaches out gingerly with his bird hands. You give him the tricorder.
Yes.
Gingerly brings it in. Looks at it. And I want you to imagine the tricorder in front of his face slowly comes down, and his eyes are just staring at your dongles, right? Just staring at those antennae. And then the tricorder slowly comes back up.
Hey, my eyes are down here.
Down again, looks, slowly shakes its head.
The antenna just sort of
and then
fixate
brings
on
it
him,
back up.
like they're staring back.
And then he hands it back to you. Well, and another question. Where on the feathery earth is my ship? Ragnar? And I think it's a great time for the captain to walk in.
And you are you're
Captain.
the captain of
Captain
your Erebus?
Wolfgang of the USS Erebus. At your service. Ragnar?
Captain Israh Shruth of the USS Erebus.
That's not going to be confusing. Perhaps you should go into Perhaps we should go into our ready. Yes, after me. No, you go. Okay. And feathers all plume up, and you bump into each other as you go in, and sure, together. No, Captain. He lets you go first.
Just okay. Let's go. And he's just gonna turn around and look at Thane and Flitz and the commander, and his expression can be summed up in 2 words. Do something.
The commander's expression is this. Big grin.
Not helpful in a crisis. Noted.
Do you need backup in there, Captain?
I don't think so.
I could take him.
Heck out an eye.
After you, just
he walks in.
Please.
I think there's
I
a
walk
moment
back to my station
where you both go for the captain's chair, like his chair, and then Birdman's gonna motion to the couch. Like you both go sit at the couch.
Okay.
Yeah. And he'll sit down, and he does a thing like the birds do, where he jumps up on the couch and settles down like this, does a little booty shake kind of thing, and then he gets really comfortable, and he's kneeling, like he's crouched down, squatting is the best way I could put it. He's sitting there, he's looking at you, goes, "Well,
Fascinating.
This is a pickle."
It's interesting that as a bird you still have human idioms.
Bundle of seeds? Would that be better? That's racist.
No seeds of discord here.
Pickles have seeds. I like
no,
seeds.
we're on.
And brine. Briny seeds.
On Zoom.
All right, Captain. What's the nature of your mission?
Well, Who first? Together, simultaneously? Perhaps.
I'll go first.
How many years?
How many years?
How many years is your mission? Bakar?
5.
Ours is also 5. Now
5
you ask
standard Earth years.
standard Earth years. Yes. Now you ask me a question.
Does the Federation exist in your universe?
But we call it the Federation. No, I'm just kidding. It's the Federation, yes.
I'm leaving.
Yeah.
I
If
want
it's
it
not-
so bad to be the Federation. You know what? Canon,
If it's not,
it's the Federation.
If it's not the Federation,
Well, we
I'm
call it
leaving.
Yeah,
the
what are we
Federation. Baka. But I think we're one and the same. Just for what your science officer showed me, if we are crossed over in some way.
Well, then that leaves a question. Am I in your universe or are you in mine?
Computer, who's in charge of this ship? And
No.
now we're going to do something really fun.
Yo,
Roll me a
Mom.
D100. High, it's your ship. Low, it's the bird ship. It's the bird ship.
Oh no.
Bum, bum, bum.
All right. So my entire crew is on your ship, but we've only seen 2 of yours here. I wonder if it stands to reason that yours ended up on mine.
Cutscene to the other ship.
And eyes wide. Who on your crew are you missing, Captain? Have you checked?
Well, I imagine that if I checked the crew manifest, it would be your crew. So I really have no way of knowing except, and he'll tap his comm badge, and say, Shruth to Ulrich.
This is Ulrich, Captain.
Yes, Commander, I know that. I called you.
Yes, you did, Captain.
Commander, I'd like you to assemble a team and go deck by deck. I want a head count of all personnel, and I want to know who we're missing.
We're doing this the old-fashioned way, Captain?
Well, we aren't on our Erebus.
What are you talking about?
Check the ship's computer. You'll see what I mean.
Son of a... And then the comms cut.
Well, that's taken care of. We'll find out who I'm missing, and then your doctor. We have your doctor. Your doctor's in sickbay with my doctor.
Ah, Dr. Collette. Truly one of the best doctors in the Federation. Chosen for this mission specifically because of the things he had
I'm sorry I ever opened my mouth
undergone.
about that.
I
Yes, you
know.
were. He's seen some things during our battles with the Featherons. It was terrible, bloody, violent. But the Federation, it saw itself through. I even have a Featheron on my crew as well, Chief of Security.
I
They
have to find him and
they've-
destroy him.
happen to be
Can only be one.
Exactly.
well, Captain. You look almost like
Here
a.
we are.
There can be only one. You look almost like a parakeet.
Arrow, what?
It's a bird from my universe. You look like a humanoid version of.
Are
a
you comparing me
parakeet.
to a simple avian?
Are you not?
I don't know what they do in your Federation. Strange name, terrible, lacking feathers, disgusting. But ration, where such things are rude. I'm offended. Okay.
Well, I suppose, but for an analog of the Federation, you are surprisingly closed-minded and xenophobic.
I see your point.
Captain,
Captain,
let's
let's
see to our cruise.
see to our cruise.
After you.
Oh no, after you, Captain.
Thank you. And he's just gonna get up and this is a weird first day.
Beautiful.
This is a really weird first
So
day.
I want to give each of our scenes. We've got the doctor down. I want to know, does anybody have some interactions with either the situation at hand, checks they want to make, questions they want to ask? I want to open it to, we've got these kind of two major scenes going on with the doctor and the feather doctor and the feather captain. Any interactions or questions you guys want to ask? I'll leave that open to you guys. Please.
How much longer until the piece of the other ship is tractored into our shuttle
Already
bay?
tractored in.
All right. When the captain walks back in, I'll say, Captain, the piece of the other Erebus is in the shuttle bay. I will go with a team to find out what it is. Unless you have something else you would have me do.
No, Commander Flitz. I think determining where all these ships came from is our best bet at getting ourselves or this ship back where it needs to be.
Very good. I'll be in the shuttle bay if you need me. Bronson, meet me in shuttle bay 1.
Aye, aye, sir. On my way.
Bring your kit.
Which one?
The big one.
Dun, dun, dun. You hear her actually say that. Dun, dun, dun. And then she rots it out. And she'll meet you down in that. So, okay, beautiful. You're going to do that. Shaz, any other questions, checks you'd like to make?
Yes, actually, I would like to scan this region of space to see if I can determine if my supposition earlier on was correct and there is some sort of like weakness in the barrier between quantum realities or something like that that we could then analyze
further. You
further.
make a check earlier, and this is technically a new scene, so you could just ask that question if you want to as a chief science officer. Or you can make a check for it.
Works, but no, we'll ask that question then.
Yeah, go for it. So, yes, there is. There is a thinness in both the I would say the veils between realities and time. The wormhole seems to affect, as you had scanned when you first entered into it, both time and space, and it seems to it's like a meshed grating, almost like a what is it, a colander, right? And it's like as you travel through, you're traveling like in the middle of two colanders, but bits and pieces of things on either side can like sift through. So like you picked up bits of them, they picked up bits of you, but as the realities were pushed through those little holes, they probably fractured, which is why you have an entire debris field of, well, Erebuses. And yes, if you scan the debris field, there are over 100 different Erebi in this debris field, like different versions.
Ooh.
Yeah. There's a lizardation, featheration, there's a cowation. I mean, there's a lot of different animals.
Holy cow!
I know.
Yeah,
Moo.
da.
Imagine the cow people.
They certainly were after they were hit by the debris.
Bullshit.
He is going to relay that information to our chief engineer and ask if there is any way to modify the ship and its communication arrays to potentially pierce the barrier between realities in order to communicate with our actual Erebus.
I mean, probably. That's... Let me think about that, Captain.
He's not the captain, he's a professor.
I would never want to be the captain, but I appreciate the display of respect.
Professor.
I'm sorry, I didn't have the
not a problem.
Doctor,
Zoom.
Captain, Professor. Sir.
Mr.
Captain.
Captain.
Dr. Captain, Professor.
Professor, person.
The third.
If if it's possible to actually communicate with our own Erebus, we could re-enter the wormhole and use it to reintegrate and filter the two ships back to their original quantum universes.
Let me think on it. And then he pauses for exactly like a second and a half and says, yes, I believe there might be something that we can do. I'll get on it as soon as I get some answers from this bit of wreckage that we have.
This will henceforth be known as the Brita effect. Well stated, Lieutenant Commander Stern. Well stated. Did C4A. Love to see it. Also, I have to fix your thing to where it says C4A, Lieutenant Commander Stern, but I was doing it live, so we'll just roll with it.
We'll get there.
You know, I think with the meme, we should know that's never a good idea. Never do it live.
Yeah, well, it wouldn't be a DerWolf stream if I didn't screw something up on the first episode. It always happens, and you know what? I just lean into it. It's all good. It's all good. Okay, so that's beautiful. So you've asked that question. You've identified a potential solution to our problem that we find ourselves faced here. Anybody else down in the medical bay? Any questions, interactions, anything you guys want to do?
Has the news of what has occurred, that we are no longer on the Erebus, reached down here? Like, has anyone relayed
make
that
a decision?
to us?
Make a decision. I don't know if the captain would have announced it. It's up to you guys. You know what? I'll fix that for you. I'm going to make the decision. Yes.
Okay.
The commander, the first officer, has come through and been like, who are you missing? Right? Like, who are you missing? For you guys, you're missing one nurse. Nurse Nas is who you're missing. A Nurse Nas.
Right.
Not a question, but can I have integrated's not the word. Scanned this avian into our system now so that we have a starting base?
Absolutely. And if you want to make another check again to try and scan this avian, I think enough time has passed that I'd be happy to let you make another check via control medicine, difficulty of 3 again to try and identify.
We have plenty of momentum too, so don't be afraid.
Yes. I want one.
Good. Use all of the momentum. Thus, when I use my threat to call it a feathery cube, you will not know what to expect.
That is a lot of successes.
It's a lot of
Holy schmolians! Well,
I know its social security number now.
Wow. You do. That's really funny.
Well played.
Oh, and it's Canadian one too. So imagine, if you will, that on Earth, avians versus primates had become the dominant species. They had formed into humanoid creatures. That is exactly what you're looking at. You're looking at a avian-like humanoid. What is strange, though, to you, Lieutenant Commander Stern, is that you and this particular avian share like 95% of the same DNA. You seem like a weird feathery mirror of each other. And as you're scanning them, there is this feeling or sensation that you're almost analyzing yourself. Now, I don't know how Lieutenant Commander Stern would react to that, but I'm going to leave that with you, and you may react to it as it's no big deal, or it is a big deal. It's entirely up to you as a character. That is the sensation that you're experiencing.
Okay.
Are you quite satisfied, so-called featherless doctor?
Just because I don't have the same plumage as you, I somehow cannot have the same profession as you?
Correct. Not as dumb as you look. Okay.
She would find it interesting. Yeah, it's especially since she wasn't even from Earth. just the statistics of that lining up. Also, his attitude's pissing her off, so she's gonna have the lights go out
Turn lights
completely in
back
the
up. Yeah,
office.
she's like, seems a little agitated, but he gets used to it pretty quickly.
I believe it would be prudent to search for other of these bird people along the ship.
Well, now we have it's C4A is having problems with words now.
Sure.
It's in the system, so you can use a computer to search for the specifics.
It would probably be a plumedent thing to do.
No.
I will get on comms and open up a channel to everyone on the security team.
I will find the nearest airlock and throw myself out.
I'll join
Attention
you
all
shortly.
security
Good
team.
night, everybody.
Bye.
I'm issuing a full sweep of the ship from bow to stern.
Yes.
Lieutenant the commander comes over comms. Is like, way ahead of you, Lieutenant. Way ahead of you. We're about 60% done.
Oh, well, in that case, I'll just sit here.
Well, you know, these Klingons are good for something. The joke, Lieutenant. Human thing. You'll figure it out.
I
Friendly
am
ribbing.
well versed in the art of recreational insult. I was merely assessing the strength of that particular one.
Well, why don't you come and help me? Make yourself useful.
Very well.
And as you are traveling with the commander, you meet him on like deck 14 or something, and you go through and you find out that you are missing one medical personnel, and you are also missing one engineering personnel. All right, their names don't matter. That's just who you're missing. Now, what is slightly disconcerting is that as you are searching deck by deck by deck by deck, you get down to like the civilian quarters of the ship, and these are the crew you're missing. As you get to the civilian quarters, they are, and this is evil GM things that a certain Drillian just gave me. I'm spending a threat. Spending 4 threat.
Oh.
All of the civilians are missing. Quarters empty. Nothing inside. No supplies, no clothing, no books, no personal belongings, no bird people.
Children.
They are empty. Kids gone.
A bunch of
Everyone
little,
is
little
missing.
chicken nuggets walking around.
Nothing. Everyone is missing.
Eggs?
What is even more disconcerting, though, is that in each of the quarters that you look into, in the center of each of those rooms, there is a tiny black cube that seems to have been very purposefully placed in the dead center of each of those quarters. The cube itself is obsidian black, but on the top there is a bluish, purplish, and kind of a soft white swirling, almost as though it's illuminated from the inside by a light. Thank you, by the way, Drill. I appreciate you.
Well, I will immediately inform the captain of this. Captain, we have a very large crisis in the civilian compartments.
Let's say there are a dozen, I'd say 20. 20 civilian compartments, as it were, quarters. And there are 20 of these objects. 2 things to make note of. And this is partly because Drill's evil and gave me evil GM things. I appreciate you, Drill. Whenever you want to. Keep it coming. If you try to scan them, they don't pick up on scanners.
These are civilians from the Cube verse, I assume.
Cubillions?
Yes.
What do you do with that information, Lieutenant Flynn? Phe'lan. Not Phelan. Phe'lan.
Yeah.
I'll get it right eventually.
Yeah. I will relay everything that I've seen back to the captain. I will recommend we go to full red alert. Because our civilians are gone. I am treating this as if we have been boarded.
You see
Well,
this six-sided shape and go, die.
Yeah, and you know what? Let's see if the computer will respond to Captain Shruth though when he orders a red alert.
High or low?
Hi.
Hello.
Does not.
Captain, under the circumstances,
Paka!
perhaps.
Red alert! Paka! Beep. Beep.
Thank you.
Beep. Boop.
Now let's go and have a look at these cubes.
And as you guys go down to look at the cubes, I want to follow Lieutenant Commander Flitz down to the storage bay, as he is going to be making some scans with Lieutenant Bronson on this piece of the Erebus that he has found. I'm going to have you make a control and engineering. All right. And should that succeed, I'm then going to have you make a reason engineering that will be a slightly lower difficulty. So first difficulty is going to be a 3. Second difficulty, if you succeed that, is only going to be a 1. Okay? You do have 4 momentum. Actually, I think you should have some more, shouldn't you?
We should have 6, yeah.
Have 6, yeah.
Okay. You said control?
Yep, engineering. Correct.
Engineering.
Love to see it.
I bet my focus of Regent class starships would work for this.
Oh my stars, absolutely.
All right. And how many do I need?
3 successes.
3 successes.
Mhm.
I am
Gonna spend some
going
momentum?
to spend 3 momentum to roll 4 dice.
I love that journey for you, and
If that's
continue.
okay with y'all. Submit, focus, yes, and yeah.
I see some. Oh, there's that engineer we know and
So-
love. Let's go, baby bird.
Full on momentum.
Let's
again.
go, baby
Oh,
bird.
I'll buy
We
that for
love it.
$1.
Oh, that's beautiful. All right, now I just need a.
Photo.
I need a reason engineering. Reason engineering, difficulty 1.
I'm just gonna use 1 momentum for
Doesn't
that.
hurt. Doesn't hurt.
Uh,
So, couple things.
you said
Analyzing it
reason.
with the first check, you verify that it is indeed a legitimate piece of the Erebus. Piece of the Erebus. And it appears that it was destroyed by gravitational forces. Like it was literally sheared apart under the sheer weight of like something like crushing, tearing, almost like it was like sucked into a black hole kind of thing, where it just like it extended out and then just ripped apart as the metal and everything gave way. That's the impression you're getting of how it was destroyed. Your other check though, reason.
Reason and engineering. And yeah, I'm only gonna spend 1.
I gotta tell you
Submit
guys, I'm having an
and-
absolute blast, so thank you for playing tonight. Just want to throw that out there. I'm having a great time. Oh my god, look at this motherfucker. Oh my god. You got a crap ton of floating momentum, by the way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Engineers in house, everybody.
We could go back through the wormhole on that momentum.
I mean, you could.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, good night, everybody.
Well,
You
we're back,
recognize
everybody.
and the way that you recognize this is that as you were helping work on the ship, there was a member of your team that on the panels just below where the numbers were placed on the Erebus, they had a bunch of the team had written their names, like drawn them on in like black Sharpie kind of style, right? Had done that. This is a piece of your ship, your actual ship.
Bronson,
Yes, sir.
do you recognize these signatures?
Leans over, and her eyes fixate on Lieutenant? Oh, it's Commander Krev now, right?
Mm-hmm.
Commander Krev's.
Yeah.
He did get promoted, right? Commander Krev's signature on there. Yes, sir, I do. Glum,
this is
thin lips.
What's to Captain?
Ragnar? Captain here.
Oh, not you.
Sorry, of course I have it.
Go ahead, Flitz.
We've tractored in a piece of our Erebus.
You sure?
As sure as I can be from my initial scans. I'm waiting on the results of the quantum scan. Is that finished yet, Wolf?
Bronson shows you the readings. It is your Erebus. It's not your Erebus.
Yes. This is our ship, Captain.
All right, well, now that we know, senior staff, please report to the observation lounge.
Yes, sir.
Hold on.
I'm
Dr.
gonna
Quallet, en route. If I'm let out of this blasted room.
I'm gonna intentionally leave him in there and go.
Tink, 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 tink.
We do have those 2 floating momentum. I don't know if you want to spend them to create an advantage regarding like our ability to penetrate the barrier between realities or to scan between them.
I think it would be in the spirit of the game, like if you wanted to use them to like have an understanding that in the future, like I would let you use those 2 momentum to be like, when you guys try to undo what's happened, whatever difficulty I set will be reduced by 1.
So
Yeah, I'm
that
basically
fair?
trying to kind of
like
give some
that.
sort of narrative
Okay.
logical reason to
So
explain how that would
maybe,
happen.
maybe a similarity between the, I guess, the quantum resonance of the alloy in this ship and the alloy fragment that we have, combined with the knowledge that Thane, we'll talk about this in character. This is better. It's better if we just talked about it.
Yeah.
So I'd like to imagine everyone meets in the observation lounge, and you have the bird captain, the human captain, and our
Andorian,
entire
thank
command
you.
staff. I mean, you all look the same. You don't have feathers to him, so what does he care? It's all good.
That's fair enough.
Some of them are blue.
Yeah, well, whatever. It's all good.
He's colorblind.
Maybe. I don't know. He only sees
I'm glad I
plumage.
left the bird doctor though.
But I leave the scene to you all to discuss. Did you want the first officer there as well?
I mean, yeah, he's a member of the senior staff, so
Perfect.
yes.
Yeah. He's gonna sit down and he's got that grin on his face, like he's just loving this. He's like, Doctor?
Okay.
The hell is wrong with you? Shas is just going to like completely disregard protocol with respect to the captain, organize the meeting, and direct that towards the first officer.
Wrong with me, Professor?
In all likelihood, the entire civilian complement of this vessel has been killed.
Doctor.
If that is the case, and if the bird people had also swapped places with us, it's likely that their crew had been killed as well.
First thing is first. Commander, in this situation, maybe a little more decorum.
Of course, sir. And his grin disappears. He sits up straight, and he is, in an instant, just professional.
Now,
Captain.
We're working under suppositions currently, but let's focus on what we do know. Civilian complement are gone. In their place, in exact numbers, are these small cubes that are impervious to any of our scans. Mr. Thane, Doctor, You're Einar. Are you able to glean any psychic impressions from these cubes?
I haven't even tried. I didn't go to the civilian quarters to examine them.
Did you bring any of the cubes back with you?
And I think as part of that 2 momentum spend to create an advantage, the captain's going to produce a like a containment case and open it up, and inside is all of them.
Oh yeah.
So we're able to
How many are there?
physically interact with them.
20 of them.
Okay. You said 20 or plenty?
20.
Okay. Hmm.
This is not merely some kind of aberration as a result of our crossing through dimensions. Those were placed there deliberately by some intelligent force, given that they were displayed in each quarter, almost like someone was mocking us that the civilian population had been taken.
And you're sure they are nowhere else on the ship? Specifically only in the civilian quarters?
Correct. The commander undertook a thorough search bow to stern with
Yes.
numerous teams of personnel. The stern of the ship, not you, Doctor.
A small cheeky grin on his face for a split second that then disappears and back to professionalism.
Mm-hmm.
But there was no sign of them. Dr. Thane, in your initial scans, were there any significant amounts of biomass in the debris or bodies?
GM, did I detect anything of the sort?
So you're going to reach out to these cubes psychically, right?
No, it was actually a question about the sensor readings that we gathered at the debris field.
Yes.
Particularly anything that was localized based on our universal signature or our, reality. Did we detect organic remains?
Specifically, no. Not a single molecule.
No. Somehow there's debris, but nothing organic.
Well, then it stands to reason that our missing personnel, the missing avian crew, are not in this debris field. So where are they?
Surely we're not the only surviving vessel from a particular quantum reality. The survivors of all the destroyed vessels might have been distributed across other ships. That might in fact be why we're here. Our vessel was destroyed and we were transported. He just gestures around the conference room.
But that wouldn't explain the absence of the avian crew if their vessel was not destroyed. Should that logic not follow that they would be here as well?
He just shrugs.
Can I is there any way I could use some of that momentum to do to like aid in a scan around us to see if we can find anything else of our quantum signature? Or anything of the avian's quantum signature?
So because the good doctor got a full scan of the avian in the medical bay, and because we do have an advantage that we had set aside, I'm going to let you make a check for this. If anyone wants to assist, I think the doctor assisting would make the most sense in this situation to suggest that, if you're okay with that. But I'd like you to give us this would be, technically would be a control science. if you want to make it, or if you want to ask the science officer to do so instead. But the first check would be a control science, and they could be assisted by a control medicine if the doctor wants to assist. So whoever wants to make that check, go for it.
I'm okay with control science.
Love
I
it.
think.
Love it.
I
And
will-
you would
Science is
definitely
my
have a
second
focus with xenobiology, by the way, doctor.
Okay.
And you would just be rolling 1 die for an assist.
I'm gonna burn 3 momentum again. This is important,
Damn. All right.
and we have a lot of them.
Yeah, difficulty on this would have been a 4. It is now down to a 3. So I think that's a good point spend as well, even with the assist.
Would theoretical experimental physics work as a focus for this?
I'm gonna say no. Well, just sell me on it.
Well, I mean, obviously,
All right, I'm sold. Go ahead.
okay.
I just want you guys to have fun. Ooh, there's
3.
your success. And see Frey get us some momentum. She cannot.
No.
A complication.
Ooh,
A
alright.
complication. And Captain, I want you to remember what Abso said to you prior to leaving. There will come times in your captaincy where you will have to make hard choices. You detect your quantum signatures. They are in one of the cubes. Detect the other avian quantum signatures, one of the other cubes, as well as a smattering of other similar but different signatures stuck within these particular cubes. The complication is that as you are analyzing them, you start to formulate an idea that if you were to take one of these cubes back through the wormhole and kind of do like a Michigan left, which is where you we have these things you can turn left. It's like a little do a U-turn basically. You would shunt yourself into that reality and be there, right? It's almost like the realities that are there's 20 different realities that are contained in each of these cubes. But you're going to have to make a choice which one you do. Right now you see no other option. That is the complication.
All right, I
Effectively,
relate this to the rest of the crew.
to elaborate the gravity of this, if you go to your reality, bird people cease to exist on your ship. You go to their reality, you cease to exist. You don't see any other way, because if you were to take them all in together, it would likely just fracture again like it did.
What reality are we in currently?
Interestingly enough, you cannot tell. Every time you scan for it, it is as though you are existing in a state of constant flux. You recall when I described the wormhole, it seemed like there were different realities, these two realities fighting each other. It seems as though the reality that you are in itself, like this very debris field, is like in a constant state of flux. I want you to imagine that the wormhole is the mouth of a balloon, and you guys are in the balloon part, and it's almost like you're pretty sure that if you tried to go out of it, you'd hit a barrier. Like you're stuck here. Like it's almost as though the game master is railroading you. Is what he's doing. Forced choice. Like what a guy, right? That's where we're at. By the way, see, I'm glad you rolled that complication because makes things interesting.
So, captains,
Okay.
it would appear that we are in no realities. We are aboard our avian friend's ship. His crew is in one of the containers, as is our missing civilians, as well as several other quantum realities are within the other cubes. We are not in a reality currently. We are in a constant state of quantum flux.
Space in between, as the song goes.
Were we to choose a state, all of the other states would cease to be. I believe what I saw as we went through the wormhole is analogous to what has happened to all of us. Various ships fighting their way through the wormhole, or various Erebuses fighting their way through the wormhole to get to this place.
And if we take all of the cubes and attempt to reintegrate them, we end up with fracturing.
Yes, if we tried to take all of them, we'll just return here, essentially. And who knows what the consequences of that would be. I don't.
Well, I know the consequences of choosing one over the other. That is, we trade one set of lives for another set of lives.
The bird captain,
But
who has
what if?
been... Go ahead, please.
But what if there's another option? What
We
if?
seem to have a bit of a trolley problem right now.
What if we? Professor Thane, you said the wormhole had a temporal variance as well as a quantum variance.
It did, yes. If we hadn't compensated, we might have ended up on this side of the wormhole anywhere within a year of our starting time.
What if there's a way to leverage that?
Using the natural chronometric flux of the wormhole's matrix in order to disgorge each quantum reality at a unique moment in their respective time periods, thus avoiding a collective fracture.
Exactly. Is it possible, Cmdr Flitz, Professor Thane, you're the brain of this ship and the hands of this ship? Can you do it?
I believe if we tied my multiphasic positronic brain into the ship's computer, I believe it could perform the calculations. But not without some risk to me. I'd be willing. I am willing to do that. But there is a risk.
Captain, if I may.
Please, Captain.
There is another option. Don't risk your crew. Simply save them.
But then what of you? And your people?
We are but feathers in the breeze. A risk that my crew, my people, have taken since we flew up into the stars.
Assuming that each Erebus has a roughly equivalent crew complement, we would be murdering 19,000 people to save ourselves.
But it would guarantee your survival. Better to save some than lose everyone.
I agree with the feathered one.
Would shuttlecraft be able to survive the trip through the wormhole?
The first officer leans forward and says, "Phenomenal idea, Doctor, but
No, this with all due respect, Captain, this decision I believe is mine.
I'd say it's your ship, but your crew. I defer to you, Captain. Okay.
No, I elect that we try.
So, this to me feels like it should be an extended task. Because it just feels like it should be an extended task. I'm really bad at these. I always muck them up. Matthew, how's your understanding of extended tasks? Like, do you have a firm grasp of them? Because I always screw them up.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure Aaron does as well.
Yeah.
Andy does too.
Okay.
You're actually much better at these. I struggle a little bit with extended tasks myself.
It's basically just combat.
Yeah. You know what?
So the way that I have this set up in my brain
Mm-hmm.
is this is going to be a magnitude 3, difficulty 3, work track 15, resistance of 1. Is the way we're going to have this set up. Okay?
Okay.
And if I remember correctly, because I've run these a couple times, but I tended to steer clear of them because I found them honestly kind of confusing. But we got here.
Honestly, they're one of my favorite mechanics. I love it because it's combat for the engineers. It gives them, or the science officers, gives them the chance to shine like a warrior does.
Yes.
In combat.
That's beautiful. So, unless anyone else has anything to add to this particular scene, I'm going to do a slight montage of you guys hooking up Flitz to the computer, repairing the cubes, figuring out some way to basically stagnate them, like maybe drop them behind the ship or something. And yeah, does anybody have anything else to add? Because I think we're getting near to sort of our climax here, sort of the end of this. This feels climactic, and I appreciate you guys sticking with me. I've had an absolute blast here. But we're gonna make this task go, and yeah. So this is going to be for you and anyone that wants to help with this. We can do it kind of like person by person. I think different stations helping at different times would be very poetic, and I think it would be very thematic as well. So you've got to get 15 on the work track, and we're going to start with, this is going to be a control engineering, as you are attempting to modulate the shields to match with these different temporal like frequencies, is the way I would describe it, if that makes sense, as you go. And then every time you hit a certain one, you drop a certain cube, right? Like you're finding the different temporal variances that match with the different temporal variances of the cubes. Does that make sense? You're trying to drop them at the right times. Mm-hmm. This is going to be highly taxing on you, Lieutenant Commander Flitz. Highly taxing.
I would recommend then perhaps that Shmandy have the assist, since you're tactical, and that seems like it would fit with the modulation of the shields. And also, you haven't had too many rolls tonight, so I'd like to give you...
I'd love to get him some rolls as well. That'd be great. Thank you, Shmandy.
Yeah, and so that was one of the things I was going to suggest, would be because
love it.
Gravitational anomalies had destroyed the couple of some of the other variations of the Erebus, that we reinforce the ship structurally and through shields as much as we can to withstand any potential gravity shenanigans.
I love it. So we see a scene of sort of the main computer. We have Lieutenant Commander Flitz like plugged into it like an android, like a robot plugged in, all these wires and stuff into him. We see we've got open comms between everyone involved. We have the command staff. We have an awkward moment where the captain goes to sit in the captain's chair, but the bird captain does as well. And then the bird captain steps aside and just offers it to you, but then like stands very close next to you with like his bird elbow like on the back of the chair, like he's like still trying to sit on it.
It's fine.
And just a bit nice smirk back on the first officer's face. He's loving this. He's loving every minute of it. Space captain, let me tell you, this is what I live for. Weird anomalies and stuff. It's crazy out here. All right. we're gonna start this task. So you are gonna be making a, and you're gonna have to help me out with this Matthew, because I've always screwed this up and I really want to get it right this time. So I'm gonna ask you to walk me through this just so that I make sure I don't screw this up, if you don't mind. I'm asking for help. So
Sure.
I've got, so the magnitude, if I remember correctly, that's the part I don't understand is magnitude.
So think of magnitude as the number of wounds that the enemy has to take. The difficulty is the difficulty you have to reach in order to hit it. And the work track is how much stress or damage it can take overall.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Okay. Gotcha.
So let's say this is a difficulty 4 task. I think you said it was a difficulty 3.
Yep.
But difficulty 3, he rolls on his, I think it was control engineering, and he has to get a difficulty 3 at least. Okay. If he succeeds at that, he rolls challenge dice equal to his engineering score in this case, plus 1. And we count those successes against the work track of 15.
And he has to, and then it's again, the work track is a number of like chances he has to proceed, or is every 5 of the work track lowers the magnitude?
So if he gets more than 5 of those hits, it's like a wound in physical combat.
That's it. Okay,
got it. It counts against the magnitude.
That makes sense.
If he completes the work track, it also gives him a success against the magnitude.
Perfect.
And every progressive success along that track
Reduces
lowers the difficulty of the next task by 1.
Yep.
The only thing that you have to take into consideration is the interval. The interval is how long he actually has to carry out that action. That's what you haven't listed here.
We're going to make it difficult. 3 tries.
Okay.
It's quick. 3 tries.
That would be then 6 intervals, because we use up 2 intervals for every task we engage in. It is possible, however, for you to spend 1 momentum to reduce that down to 1 interval. So that would be a momentum spend that you could use.
So I'd say we start with, you're going to be making most of these checks, Lieutenant Commander. We're going to have, I'm doing 3 because I want security, medical, and science each to help at some point. That feels poignant. And you can describe yourselves how you're helping. But I guess let's make that first control engineering check, and then I'm going to have you make a control security check. When you do an assist, go ahead.
I would like to argue that it would be reason, since I'm using my positronic brain.
Done. Makes total sense. Yep.
Good, because with my positronic brain talent, I get 1 automatic success on all tasks using reason.
Well, get bent.
I completely forgot about that
You're
in my previous ones.
Well, Game Master tries to kill a character session 1 and just doesn't happen. So it is what it is.
Probably the perfect opportunity to spend determination as well.
Not a bad idea. Now, Shmandy, when you roll to assist, you only roll 1d20. You'll be doing control security.
Control.
So we start with 1 determination, right?
Correct.
Yep.
Every session.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay. Yes, I think I would spend that determination. I'll hold off on the first one.
Okay.
I'll spend it later.
I will say that if you succeed here, it goes down by 1, the difficulty. Like if you get a hit on the magnitude.
Oh,
so
yeah.
Better to come out swinging.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So do I roll
yeah.
this first, or
Doesn't
do we
matter.
make
You just,
Okay.
we're all
So
in this
the determination does what? I'm sorry.
2 automatic
No.
successes.
2
Yeah,
automatic
that's
successes.
1 use, yeah.
So I have 3 automatic successes.
Okay.
Look at this guy.
Make that 4.
Make that 4. Dang.
Dang.
Oh, he's gonna go back.
All right. Engineering. Submit. 2d20.
Remember, the dice have a story to tell.
Yep.
Here we hit 2 complications.
Rallying the rest of the operations and security crew to kind of make sure that the ship is going to withstand whatever we're going through.
Yes.
Would my focus of Starship computer systems
100%.
assist?
Absolutely.
Focus? Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
You're running some crazy calculations.
Right. So in using those computer systems, I also get my technical expertise, which lets me reroll 1d20.
You stop being awesome. making it very difficult to kill you. All right, can you stop? Thank you. Mother
Ooh,
of God.
okay, there we go.
Mother
Okay.
of God. Damn! You want to reroll both of those, right? And get zeros?
That's
Damn!
8. That's 8.
That is not the
Damn.
highest number, but very close to the number of successes. And if I remember correctly, for every success over, don't you get to roll extra challenge dice?
I don't think so, but you could spend those momentum to create an advantage and decrease the difficulty of the next roll,
Yeah.
or add points to the work track.
Because that does give you momentum, right? Like you're Captain Momentum now.
And we have floating momentum as well, I think.
Floating momentum.
Mother of Saint Pearl. Well, that went well.
So it was 5 through. So he has 2 floating momentum.
Okay.
Yeah, let's definitely make a advantage with that.
All right. I need you to roll some challenge dice. +1. So what's your engineering skill?
My engineering skill
probably
is 5, yes.
You roll 6 challenge dice. Let's see how much work you make.
What are those, D20s
No,
or?
there's a challenge dice button down at the bottom of your screen. It's one of the. It should be next to Technobabble.
Oh, I don't have that one any.
If you just go to the macro tab, you should have it.
Tab,
Yeah,
in the bar.
I'm clicking it in right now.
Okay.
God bless you. You're doing God's work.
No,
challenge
Wolf,
dice.
you are.
And there's no such thing as God. How many am I doing again? I'm sorry.
6.
So it's your
6.
engineering +1, so 6.
Okay, yeah, 6. Okay.
Okay.
You could spend one of those momentum to re-roll those 2 zeros if you wish.
Okay.
That would be one
do.
thing. You don't necessarily have to.
Yeah, I definitely would like to. So let's do 2.
That sorts our floating momentum anyway. Okay, let's.
You make
So that
7
would be-
progress because it does have resistance 1.
Right?
And that is 5, so that is 1 on the magnitudes. And the difficulty is now at 2, so the new situation should be this, if I'm understanding this correctly. That would be the new situation you're dealing with.
Correct.
All right, brilliant. So yeah, it goes well. And we watch as 6 of these cubes are launched from behind the Erebus. And every time they hit this like barrier, it almost looks like a Brita filter, the Brita effect, as it were. We see an Erebus appear, materialize, and exit the wormhole. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them exit. Now we're gonna do our next check. Same situation. I think this time either science or medical would be helping.
For science.
So 2 things. We do
birthday.
have that 1 floating momentum. And one of the things you can do with that as well during this extended task is decrease the interval. So decrease the amount of time it took you to actually perform that task.
So it'll be one rather than.
Exactly. So we'll spend perhaps that 1 momentum, and
Yes.
we're at intervals 1 out of 6,
We
basically.
do this. Yeah, this in intervals 1 of 6.
Yeah,
Thank
it
you for
would
your
have been
help.
two.
I know I'm the game master and should
Yeah.
know these things, but you know, I rely on my
Right.
players a lot. I appreciate you.
All right. Yeah, so I will assist with what would be reason science, assisting in those
Absolutely.
secondary calculations.
Yes.
Okay.
I am gonna burn. I'm just gonna burn 1 momentum.
That's a great idea.
Do you don't roll any bonus dice, do you?
No.
Just normal. Okay, yeah, no.
I have
No,
I
it's
re-roll
talents.
1d20,
Oh, that's so good.
and I get 1 automatic success, and then if we fail a task, we add 1 point to the group's momentum because I have backup plans. Ah, shit,
Damn.
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Let's go.
Let's
Well-
go, boys.
Oh boy, here we go.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
6. So that's
6
7.
successes.
7.
So we have 3 floating momentum as well now, folks. Just
What is happening? What
All right.
what year is it?
Somehow I'm rolling well. This has never happened before.
First of all, I love it.
if
Yeah,
this
me
is
too.
if this is combat for our engineers and scientists, can we add effects to our challenge dice like piercing and
There are equivalents to piercing. and the like. But yes, you can. You could eliminate that resistance by spending 1 momentum.
Because we spend one of those floating momentum, we can get rid of the resistance and just go straight to the work track.
That is true. You
It's
could.
not going to
I mean-
matter. It's.
I think you guys got it. I mean, I'm just gonna say.
I think that once we do the math here, it is going to
Yeah,
come
I think
out
I should have
as-
increased the difficulty
completely.
of this task by a tremendous amount, but it's all good.
Nah, it'll be fine.
We're all right.
Yeah.
I mean, the dice have a story to tell, right?
Amen to that,
Exactly.
brother.
And that story is that we're awesome.
Patent pending.
Story is, I don't believe in a no-win scenario.
So
I
it'd be
tried.
6 challenge dice again.
It's fine. Mess it up another time.
You didn't expect us to take the trolley problem and just Dukes of Hazard the trolley over.
Oh, that's not bad. Do you want to spend a momentum to reroll some of those zeros?
Yes.
I love it.
So that's 2 zeros, right?
Yep.
Correct. Seven. You
go.
reduce the resistance. You're at 14. You're at
So
14.
we have what, free floating momentum now?
Yes.
So I would dump
We
those.
can-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just dump
Sorry.
all the momentum into additional points.
Yeah.
We hit 15.
One for
Complete
one.
the work track, which drops the magnitude by 1. And we've gotten more than 5, so that also drops the magnitude by 1, which
And you've
means
succeeded.
we've succeeded. I
So
think
we
that's
watch
right, Aaron?
as the
Mhm.
last couple of these boxes, these cubes, are thump, thump, thump. And as the final two, which are your reality and the bird's reality, the bird captain looks down at you, Captain, and he simply says, "Not bad for a featherless primate." And then he disappears. There is the blue swirling like when you first entered. And then you are spit out once again, but this time not into a debris field. You simply see vast open space. And this particular galaxy, the quote-unquote horizon, has this sort of yellowy kind of tint to it, not dissimilar to the background of our overlay. But as you look out, the ship's sensors start to pick up different stars, planets, multiple different points of interest in your surrounding area. And you find yourselves now in the galaxy you will spend the next 3 to 5 years in-game. The Tau Galaxy. And the way that our story is going to unfold is that I will be presenting the crew with a certain number of points of interest. I will basically say, hey, over the next 2 weeks, you have these points of interest. Which one do you want to explore? The idea of this game, when I presented it to this particular apparently badass crew, because well done today, everyone. Well fucking done. It was amazing. Is that this is going to be a bit of a sandbox adventure where you will be directing the ship to go and explore what you want. And what I'll do is, over the first week, I'll present you with the ideas, let you discuss them. You'll pick one, and that'll give me time to write a story and present you guys with something interesting to do. Because we're doing longer sessions, we may even have episodes we're able to do more than one, depending on how fast things go. So I will always plan 2 different situations, and I will ask you guys to give me 2 situations. Depending on how quickly you solve one, we may jump right into another one. But did everyone have a good time? As I always like to ask. Did you enjoy
Oh yeah,
yourselves?
this was great.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that was great.
I loved it. Yeah.
Wonderful. D4A, I'm very glad to have you in a game. Matthew, thrilled to have you in a game. Aaron, it's good to be playing Star Trek with you again, man. Drew, I could not have Bronson come back. I love Bronson. You and Bronson
Dude,
are
I'm
fun.
so glad you brought her in.
Yeah, it felt right. I wanted to bring back some of those folks. And Shmandy, I thought you did a great job. There's definitely
Thank
gonna be
you.
some more security stuff. I hope you didn't feel left out here today, man.
No, it was fun.
I hope you had fun, but it's great to have you. And as I always say at the end of every session, any final thoughts, questions, comments, or concerns before we get ready to wrap up our first episode of Star Trek Erebus?
Thanks for a good game, guys.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how this campaign shakes out.
Excellent. Well, in the meantime, as I always say as well, thank you so much to the players for playing. Truly, without you guys, this is genuinely impossible. and I live for this shit. This is what I love. I love me some roleplay. I love hanging out with cool people that love telling fun and interesting stories together. So thank you. Thank you to the viewers for viewing. The chat was blown up, and I appreciate you guys. You will see these beautiful, wonderful people back here in 2 weeks' time. 2 weeks' time will be our session 2. That is going to be on the 21st of the month, and then every 2 weeks thereafter, we will continue to tell this story. And you're going to be looking at a little bit of these longer sessions where we're going to go for an hour and a half or so, take a quick break, and then go for another hour and a half. So settle in, get your inertial dampeners ready to go, because it's going to be an adventure. All right. But until then, be well, be safe, happy gaming. Remember, the dice have a story to tell. We're going to see what that story is. Cheers.